Chapter 1143. 2 to 3 years passed in a blink of an eye for a cultivator. Outside the Grand Essence Realm's protective array, the Luiying Dao Court's army of millions had already arrived. Compared to the Luiying Dao Court's army of millions, the hundreds of thousands of people behind Realmless Palace's Feng Xian looked a little chaotic. The void public square outside the Grand Essence Realm had already been occupied by the Dao Court's army and Realmless Palace's cultivators. Not a single person from the Grand Essence Realm could be seen on the public square. The bearded Jesse walked up to Ao Beijiang and cupped his fist towards Ao Beijiang. Senior Ao, I brought 60% of the Luiying Dao Court's army this time. Therefore, I hope that Senior can agree to a request of mine. Ao Beijiang waved his hand and said without hesitation, I've already agreed to the request you mentioned before. Jesse shook his head. Apart from this, there's one more thing. Ningcheng most likely has the Tai Sacred Devil Art. That book was snatched from my Luiying Dao Court's Lu Fangzhen. Tai Devil Art? Ao Beijiang immediately understood what Jesse wanted when he heard Jesse's words. He felt even more shocked in his heart. Just how much luck did this cultivator called Ningcheng have? How could he obtain so many good things? He even had a devil art. However, he didn't even think about it and directly said, I agree. As long as we can find the Tai Devil Art from Ningcheng, that book will be yours. Okay, Senior Ao, please tell us how we're going to attack. Jesse felt overjoyed. Apart from Ao Beijiang's promise, he also came here for the devil art from Ningcheng. Feng Xian also walked over and said, Yes, Brother Beijiang can decide how to break through the Grand Essence Realm's protective array this time. If not for the Luiying Dao Court's army, the hundreds of thousands of people he gathered would have looked spectacular and imposing. But in front of the Luiying Dao Court's army filled with killing intent, his hundreds of thousands of people were nothing more than a motley crew. The reason why the Dao Court's army could be called an army was because of the murderous aura. This murderous aura wasn't something that a single sage emperor could produce. It was the combined killing intent of countless experts. The Grand Essence Realm's protective array doesn't look simple. Dao Lord Jesse, do you think this array has any weaknesses? Where should we start? Ao Beijiang looked at Jace. Jesse was a top-notch divine array master, and one of the most famous divine array masters in the Great Change Realm. This was also one of the reasons why Ao Beijiang didn't worry about the Grand Essence Realm's defensive array. Jace's expression turned serious as he stared at the mist-shrouded Grand Array at the end of the void public square. Only after a while did he speak up. This Grand Array looks a bit like the 81 Voidlock Array. 80 strands of Dao Charm of Space have locked the void outside the Grand Essence Realm. The other strand of Dao Charm of Space is most likely a connate artifact acting as the core of the array. If we want to attack this formation, we must first send someone to suppress the core of the formation. Ao Beijiang was overjoyed. It's for the best that Dao Lord Jace was able to see through this defensive formation. Let's see how we're going to attack. Jace shook his head. I'm just guessing that this is the 81 Voidlock Array, and there is a connate magic treasure suppressing the array core. However, this formation seems a little different, so we can only be sure after entering the defense formation. Ao Beijiang naturally understood this as well. To him, as long as Jace grasped the slightest hint of this array, he would be able to deal with it. A few dozen primordial chaos powerhouses plus millions of Dao Court troops would be able to tear apart this defense formation. No matter how powerful a defensive formation was, it was nothing in front of a true powerhouse. If he had surpassed the second step of Dao confirming and entered the third step, even if he knew nothing about array formations, he could easily tear apart the Grand Essence Realm's defense formation. This was the qualitative change that occurred when one's strength reached a certain level. Okay. After Jace said that, he began to mobilize the Dao Court troops into the defense formation. If Jace knew that this defense formation didn't have one connate artifact, but two connate artifacts suppressing the array core, he might have regretted coming here. After Jace spoke, Feng Xian didn't say anything else. When he heard Jace say that the Grand Essence Realm's Grand Array had a connate artifact suppressing it, he had a bad feeling in his heart. Since Ningcheng had snatched away his mountain and river dipper, could it be that the Grand Essence Realm used his mountain and river dipper to suppress the array? Under the leadership of a primordial chaos holy emperor, 2 Tao perfection holy emperors, and a top-grade spirit array master like Jace, the Tao court troops charged towards the Grand Essence Realm's defense formation. This kind of momentum was almost crushing, without the slightest hesitation. Millions of people, almost with every step they took, a powerful murderous aura and Tao rhymes condensed together, causing bursts of crackling sounds. Luiying cloud-cleaving army. Advance 30 miles in the direction of my array flag, and stand at the Gen position. Luiying god-subduing army. Advance 100 miles in the direction of the array flag and stand at the Sin position. Jace threw out array flags one after another, and teams of cultivator troops charged forward with murderous Tao rhymes. In a short time, this place was filled with a solemn and murderous aura. 4 armies suppress. The rest of you, follow my array flags and attack. Jace's voice grew faster and faster. Not only did he feel that something was wrong, but even the 2 Tao perfection holy emperors also felt that something was wrong. Because no one from the Grand Essence realm came out to stop them, and there wasn't even a sound of alarm. It was normal that there was no sound of alarm. After all, they had been waiting outside the Grand Essence realm for several years. Even if the people of the Grand Essence realm were idiots, they would know that they would attack the Grand Essence realm sooner or later. But no one came out to stop them. This wasn't right. Jace began to suppress the array core, and was ready to break the array. Boom boom boom. The Tao Court Army's first wave of attacks finally landed on the Void array flags. Everyone felt their bodies shake, as if the void they were standing in had become unstable. Jace threw out array flags one after another, and the continuous attacks were coordinated by the array flags. The rumbling sounds grew faster and faster. As a Tao Lord, Jace had led the Tao Court Army into countless battles. As an array formation master, he knew that once a battle started, the most taboo thing to do was to cower. Everyone knew the principle of the first burst of energy, the second burst of energy, and the third burst of energy. Ka. Sounds of the defensive array cracking rang out, and someone finally spoke. Ao Beijiang, this is the first time you bullied my Grand Essence realm for no reason, and even injured my Grand Essence realm's people. Our Tao monarchs didn't care about it because the Grand Change realm and the Grand Essence realm both belong to the 5 Grand Realms. But I didn't expect you to go too far. You even brought the Tao Court Army. Do you want to be a bandit as a famous Tao perfection expert? The one who spoke was Kong Xiushan. After a series of cracking sounds, Kong Xiushan's figure was revealed. Beside him, there were countless blurry figures of array masters who were anxiously and nervously laying down array flags. It was clear that they were protecting the array. Seeing this scene, many people breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out to be a deceptive array. If this array formation hadn't been blasted open, they wouldn't have known that the Grand Essence realm was just putting on a strong front. Ao Beijiang showed a cold smile. Kong Xiushan, don't pretend. I'll say it again. Hand over Ningcheng and we'll retreat. Otherwise, the Grand Change Tao Court Army won't retreat so easily. Just as Ao Beijiang's voice fell, a cracking sound rang out, and the entire space trembled. It felt as if countless spaces had started to collapse. The Grand Essence Realm's appearance became clearer under everyone's spiritual consciousness. Kong Xiushan's expressions changed. He waved his hand and said, "All array formation masters retreat. The Grand Simplicity people, press forward. Even if my Grand Simplicity realm has to kill to the last person, we will never let these shameless people invade." Although Kong Xiushan said these words, he felt speechless in his heart. Ningcheng had asked him to say these words. He was sure that even an idiot could see that the Grand Essence Realm's defensive array was so easily blasted open. It was a deceptive move to lure the enemy, who made Ningcheng a Tao Lord. He could only do as Ningcheng said. Kong Xiushan didn't guess wrong. While he retreated with the Grand Essence Realm's Spirit Array Masters, no one from Ao Beijiang's side rushed in, just as Kong Xiushan thought. Even an idiot could tell that this array formation was so easy to break. Ao Beijiang and Feng Xian glanced at Jessie, but didn't speak. Jessie hesitated for a moment before saying, "That Ningcheng doesn't look like an idiot. Why use such a low-level method?" Feng Xian remained silent for a while before saying, On the contrary, I don't think this is a low-level method. It's the most successful way to lure the enemy. The most successful? Everyone stared at Feng Xian. Feng Xian said in a deep voice, "Everyone knows that this is a low-level method to lure the enemy. But since we want to go to the Grand Essence Realm, can we not go in?" Many people understood Feng Xian's meaning. This person deliberately used this method to lure the enemy. But since you want to destroy the Grand Essence Realm, you have to fall for it. If you don't want to go in, then retreat. This had been planned for many years, so who would want to retreat? Jessie nodded. I also guessed that Ningqing used an overt plot. Facing this situation, we have to go in. Since we know that he's luring the enemy, we can't go in together. Only a few of us can go in. Ningqing just wants to let some of our people enter, and then kill as many of them as he can to weaken our strength. If he really thinks this way, then we can only say that he's like this. Sometimes, in the face of absolute strength, small schemes don't have much use. Although he said that, Jessie didn't send anyone in. Ao Beijiang had to say, "Dao Lord Jessie, send an army to test it out. If the killing array isn't too strong, we can tear it apart with our strength." Jessie felt helpless, but he could only do this. His Dao Court army came here to do this. He didn't use the Dao Court army suppressing the innate artifacts array core. This time he sent out 100,000 of the most ordinary Dao Court army. The 100,000 Dao Court army rushed directly into the cracked defensive array under the leadership of a primordial essence Holy Emperor. As soon as these 100,000 people rushed in, a terrifying killing sound swept in from all directions, trapping these 100,000 people tightly. The Dao Charm killing lines seemed almost corporeal as they blasted into the 100,000 Dao Court army. Just like cutting melons and stir-frying vegetables, the 100,000 Dao Court army died at a speed visible to the naked eye. Even the primordial essence Holy Emperor couldn't hold on for long. I understand. This is a void strangulation array. It's an array formation that uses 10 to kill 1. This is their trump card. Just now, the Grand Essence Realm used nearly 1 million Dao Court army. Moreover, they still have more than 2 million people who haven't moved yet. If we fill in bit by bit, we will end up like those 100,000 people. If we all rush in, the effect of this array formation will weaken indefinitely. We can definitely tear this strangulation array apart in a short time, Jessie said with a stern voice. Chapter 1144. Jessie's attainments in the Tao of Arrays definitely surpassed Xia Su's. Xia Su couldn't see through Ning Cheng's void strangulation array. When Ning Cheng explained to Xia Su that it was a void strangulation array, Xia Su still felt a little worried. He worried that no one in the Grand Change realm could see that Ning Cheng's array was a void strangulation array in a hurry. If they couldn't see through it, the Grand Change realm's Dao Court's army might choose to attack the array from the periphery. If they kept attacking from the periphery, no matter how weak the effect was after a few decades, the Grand Essence realm's defensive array's first array, the Heart Mountain River Dipper, might break. To prevent the Heart Mountain River Dipper from getting damaged, Ningcheng would definitely take the initiative to attack. Once he took the initiative to attack, even with the help of a hidden killing array, the Grand Essence realm's losses would rise sharply. Ningcheng set up this void strangulation array so as not to suffer too many losses. Ningcheng didn't guess wrong. After the Luiying Dao Court's army's first wave of attacks, someone recognized it as a void strangulation array, and everyone rushed forward. Just as Jessie expected, after the Luiying Dao Court's army swarmed forward, the void strangulation array broke without any resistance. Nearly 2 million Grand Essence Dao Court's army was exposed in front of everyone. Feng Xian laughed, but before he could speak, he heard Ao Beijiang say in a deep voice, "Something still doesn't feel right." Jessie frowned slightly. He knew that his judgment was correct. It was indeed a void strangulation array. But as Ao Beijiang said, something still didn't feel right after the void strangulation array broke. But he soon felt relieved. So what if something was wrong? Even if there was another killing array that he couldn't see through, there was nothing to be afraid of. To trap millions of Dao Court's army, dozens of primordial chaos holy emperors, and 2 Dao reunion holy emperors, the Grand Essence realm couldn't set up such a killing array. In the end, they still had to rely on force. Feng Xian repeated Jay's words. Brother Beijiang, even if they still have a hidden trap and kill array or other means, so what? At this time, we have to rely on force. Even if we lose some people, we can definitely tear apart the entire Grand Essence Realm's defensive array. There was one more thing that Feng Xian didn't say. That is, if the Grand Essence Realm truly had top-level means, he and Ao Beijiang, 2 Dao Perfection Realm cultivators, could easily escape. After that, Feng Xian waved his hand, and his Dao charm mixed with his voice roared out. Tai Su is right in front of us. Fellow Taoists, follow me to crush it. Let's celebrate in Tai Su. Almost at the same time as Feng Xian launched his attack, Jesse also drove the Dao Court army. The aura of millions of Dao Court army swept down, and the Taisu Dao Court army in front of them was like a thin piece of paper that could be crushed into powder at any time. Dao ripples rumbled as killing intent swept out. Everything in front of the glazed pearl Dao Court's army would be shattered into pieces at this instant. Every cultivator in the void could feel a burst of panic in their hearts. Even the Grand Essence Realm's Dao Court army, who knew that Ningcheng had a backup plan, felt a burst of panic. No matter how strong a person was, they could only wait for death under the crushing Dao Rime killing aura. Space was no longer space, and the laws were no longer under the control of an individual. With so many killing Dao Rimes condensing together, it formed a terrifying killing pressure. Even cultivators with weaker Dao hearts would have their resistance plummet. The killing Dao Rimes in the space scraped against the Grand Essence Realm's Dao Court army in front of them, causing blood to blossom. One by one, the Grand Essence Realm's Dao Court army was blown into the void by this killing Dao Rime, and directly disintegrated into a blood mist. The Grand Essence Realm's Dao Court army had only been established for a short time. Even if they had been informed in advance, it was still difficult for them to act in such a situation. The Dao Court army became a little chaotic. Seeing the killing aura continue to suppress them, the Grand Essence Realm's Dao Court army would collapse without a fight. Ningcheng, who stood at the edge of the void's killing aura, acted as if he didn't see it at all. He kept staring at the Grand Change Realm's Dao Court army rushing in. When the last soldier of the Dao Court rushed in, he suddenly threw out several dozens of array flags and issued a battle call at the same time. The space filled with the killing Dao Rime aura suddenly stagnated at this moment. It felt as if an invisible giant hand was stirring up the killing space, created by the Grand Change Realm's Luoying Dao Court army. The killing space turned chaotic, and the imposing aura of the space no longer suppressed the Grand Essence Realm's Dao Court army. This is absolutely impossible. Jay stared at the gradually disorderly killing Dao Rime in the surrounding space in shock. The strangulation space that had suppressed the Grand Essence Realm's Dao Court army collapsed. An endless new killing aura slowly filled the air. These killing auras started to counterattack under the stirring of the more than 2 million Grand Essence Realm's Dao Court army. Jays was a top-notch array formation expert, so he naturally understood that he had fallen into a top-notch trap and kill array. If he had to arrange this kind of trap and kill array, he wouldn't have been able to do so without hundreds of thousands of people and a few years' time. To make this trap and kill array so hidden and easy to control, it required at least a Xiantian weapon. According to his judgment, the Grand Essence Realm's defensive array had a Xiantian weapon. Now there was another Xiantian weapon hiding here to form a hidden trap and kill array. How could he still have a chance to survive? Cold sweat trickled down Jay's back. He suddenly recalled that Ningcheng had died in the Grand Change Realm, but ended up appearing in the Grand Essence Realm. This person could have participated in the third round of the 5 Realms pill competition, but he didn't. How could he have thought that he could easily snatch something from this person? Ao Beijiang had harmed him, and it was because of Ao Beijiang's powerful reputation that he didn't consider these things. If Ningcheng was so easy to deal with, why would Ao Beijiang think of him? Retreat. If he retreated now, he would still have a chance. If he didn't retreat now, he wouldn't even have a chance. Since Ningcheng had arranged such a sinister hidden killing array, it meant that he definitely had a backup plan. The backup plan definitely wasn't the 2 million Dao Court army. If it were him, he would have arranged a team of Dao Court army that could sweep through this trap and kill array. If he could think of this, how could he not think of Ningcheng's sinister plan? Retreat. This time, Jays no longer cared about Ao Beijiang and Feng Xian. He frantically issued orders for the Luiying Dao court army to retreat. Despite knowing that it was too late to retreat, Jays had no choice but to issue such an order. If they retreated at this time, some of the Dao court army would still have a chance. But if they retreated a little later, the Luiying Dao court army wouldn't even have a scrap left. Boom boom boom. The terrifying killing aura in the space made Jays' heart sink to the bottom. Groups after groups of Grand Essence Realm cultivators rushed over from all directions. In the endless trap and kill array, just as he had imagined, there were countless people controlling this trap and kill array. Within the trap and kill array, the Grand Essence Realm's Dao court army could use the array to divide and kill the Luiying Dao court army. As for the Luiying Dao court army, not only were they bound by the array, but they also had to face the endless attacks of the Grand Essence Dao court army. At this time, the killing aura of the Luiying Dao court army had already turned chaotic, and all the Dao court army's cultivators were in a mess. In the entire space, apart from the killing Dao charm aura, there was only blood mist and the sound of bones being torn apart. As a top-grade spirit array master, Jays was the first to notice that they were trapped by Ning Cheng's trap and kill array. Ao Beijiang and Feng Xian didn't notice it too late. The moment the two saw the Grand Essence Realm's hidden trap and kill array activate, they knew that the situation was hopeless. Their strength was far superior to ordinary cultivators. Not only could they see the changes in the Dao charm aura, but they could also clearly see the siege of the Grand Essence Realm's Dao court army. How could there be just 2 million Dao court army? In terms of numbers, it was definitely no less than the Luiying Dao court army from the Grand Change realm. In addition, there seemed to be a million array Dao army controlling the trap and kill array. Moreover, they were in the center of the trap and kill array, where the killing aura was the strongest. Because they had rushed in together, it was too late to retreat now. Not to mention a first step array Dao Sacred Emperor. Even a Dao Essence Sacred Emperor, or a Primordial Chaos Sacred Emperor would be easily killed in this place. An individual's strength seemed insignificant under the superimposition of millions of killing Dao charm. The Grand Essence Realm only had about 20 Primordial Chaos Sacred Emperors, but with the help of the trap and kill array, they had a clear advantage on the battlefield. Dao charm, weapon radiance, talisman explosions, spirit essence collisions. At this moment, this place turned into an Azura hell. If it weren't for the fact that there were too many Primordial Chaos Sacred Emperors and Dao Essence Sacred Emperors in the Grand Change realm, the battle might have already come to an end. Strength was indeed important, but in this place, strength only allowed them to persist a little longer. Feng Xian and Ao Beijiang wanted to kill Sha Sujuan, who played an absolute role in the array formation, but the two didn't dare. They knew that Shi Yiqing and Kang Xiushan were waiting on the side. Once they moved, they would immediately fall into a siege. At this moment, the two thought of retreating at the same time. They didn't even want to use their spirit techniques to kill more Grand Essence Realm's Dao court army. For them, staying here for even a moment longer meant more danger. What's going on? When Wan Yuheng, Huang Bei's, and the others appeared on the periphery of the Grand Essence Realm, they all looked at the tumbling void in the distance in shock. Waves of killing aura seeped out from it, mixed with the smell of blood. Not only that, but a large amount of blood mist also seeped out. Wan Yuheng and Huang Bei's were accompanied by more than 30 primordial chaos experts who had experienced the vicissitudes of life. They came here after coming out of the Perpetual Moon sect to help Ningcheng. I understand. Ningcheng is using the trap and kill array to strangle the people who invaded the Grand Essence realm. Chu Manha said with a sigh. This method was truly powerful. She didn't go inside to see Ningcheng's trap and kill array. Instead, she just looked at it from the outside. It wasn't something that could be arranged casually. The black and white bearded man standing next to Chu Manha also exclaimed, Dao friend Ning, this trap and kill array requires at least 100,000 people to arrange for several years to succeed. This trap and kill array drives the Endless Void's killing power, and it also uses a top-grade weapon as the array's core. It looks like Dao friend Ning has already prepared for this. That's right, Dao friend Ning is someone who plans ahead. Chapter 1145. Pu Mao. with a sparse beard and a sharp chin, laughed. I knew that Brother Ningcheng would be fine. Think about it. Just how powerful was the Perpetual Moon Holy Emperor? Even the Perpetual Moon Gate he arranged couldn't trap Brother Ningcheng. What's the use of Feng Xian? The black and white beard shook his head. You can't say it like that. Dao Friend Ning has been to the Sea of Twilight, and even mastered the Time Spirit technique, Sunset's Twilight, which gave him the opportunity to break through the Perpetual Moon Gate. Otherwise, Dao Friend Ning would find it difficult to get out of the Perpetual Moon Gate. Then do we charge in right now, or what? Another Saint Emperor asked. The black-white beard man looked at the Grand Essence Realm's boundary protecting Grand Array, and praised again. Dao Friend Ning is truly amazing. You can even arrange this boundary protecting Grand Array. We don't have to rush in now. The Grand Essence Realm has the absolute upper hand under Dao Friend Ning's leadership. Let's send a message to Dao Friend Ning, and ask how we can support him. Before the black and white beards could send a message to Ningcheng, Ningcheng had already sent a message over. He was thanking the Dao Friends of the Perpetual Moon Sect for coming over to help. This time, the Dao Court army of the Great Change Realm was trapped and did not need any help. After this battle, he would probably need everyone's help. Black Whitebeard and the others could already see that the Grand Essence Realm had the upper hand. Since Ningcheng said that they didn't need to help for the time being, they naturally decided to watch the battle from the sidelines. Ningcheng was very grateful in his heart. He did not think that an inadvertent action of his would make so many friends. For the primordial chaos holy emperors trapped in the Perpetual Moon Gate for tens of millions of years, they yearned for friendship. Once they recognized someone as a friend, they would do their best to help them. Primordial chaos sacred emperors were killed in the confinement killing array one after another. Only a few experts managed to escape the confinement killing array using top-notch talismans. Even with a Khanate Dharma treasure as the core of the trap and kill formation, it couldn't stop those top-notch escape talismans. At this time, the Grand Essence Realm's Dao Court's army's killing aura had already formed under the influence of Sha Su's array formation. The Luoying Dao Court's army didn't have any fighting spirit. They just wanted to get out of the entrapment array and escape from here. The less they wanted to fight, the more they collapsed. The blood mist and Dao runes fused together, causing the deathly aura within the confinement killing array to become even denser. Ningcheng, who originally wanted to bring out the time wheel and the seven bridges spirit technique to help, didn't take any action at this moment. He was shocked that the power of the trap and kill array was so great, which was far beyond his expectations. Although he knew that luring all the Dao Court army of the Great Change Realm into the heart of the trap and kill array was much more effective than spreading them out and killing them separately. However, he hadn't expected such an effect. However, Ningcheng was very clear that this effect could only be used once. If the Dao Court army of the Great Change Realm came again, he would not be able to lure all of them into the center of the trap and kill formation. As long as some of them were scattered outside, even if Sha Su led the army of the Dao Court to support him, he would not be able to achieve such a brilliant result. Feng Xian and Ao Beijiang both used their means to escape at the same time. Even Ao Beijiang's disciples also managed to escape, which made Ningcheng feel helpless. Wanting to kill Feng Xian or Ao Beijiang was just too difficult. Unless he got Kong Xiushan and Shi Yiqing to join forces to deal with these two Dao integration cultivators, he wouldn't dare to do that. If Shuang hadn't gone through the degeneration, he would have killed one of them today. Not only could Shi Yiqing and Kong Xiushan not join forces to deal with one person, but they also couldn't attack at will. Their main task was to protect Sha Su. Although the Dao Court army of the Great Change Realm couldn't fight back against the Dao Court army of the Great Essence Realm, it was the Trap and Kill Array and Sha Su's Dao Array army that played the biggest role. Once Sha Su was killed, the situation would change immediately. Now that the two Dao integration cultivators had escaped, Shi Yiqing and Kong Xiushan were freed. Under their casual attacks, the primordial chaos sacred emperors trapped in the Trap and Kill Array suffered heavy casualties. Although he couldn't stop Feng Xian and Ao Beijiang, Ningcheng kept a close eye on Jesse. From beginning to end, this person had been commanding the battle. Moreover, he had already learned from Shi Yiqing that this person was Dao Lord Jesse of the Great Change Realm's Luoying Dao Court. Ao Beijiang was Mu Wuxiao's master, and had a high status in the Great Change Realm. Even if he had a high status, he couldn't order the Dao Court army to attack the Great Essence Realm. Since he couldn't order the Dao Court army to come to the Great Essence Realm, it was Jesse's own decision. There was no enmity between them, and Jesse had brought the Dao Court army to the Great Essence Realm. If he let this person go back, anyone could come to the Great Essence Realm in the future. Most of the primordial chaos sacred emperors could barely break out of the trap-killing formation and escape even if they were occasionally blocked. Some people even risked being strangled by the space and rushed into the chaotic space vortexes behind other people's spatial escape talismans. Some of the cultivators who rushed into the chaotic space vortexes were directly strangled by the space, while some were lucky enough to escape from the center of the trap and kill array. Jesse wasn't worried about escaping. His spatial escape talisman was much stronger than the spatial escape talismans of ordinary primordial chaos sacred emperors. When he saw that the Luoying Dao Court army could no longer retreat, Jesse almost crushed the bones in his hand. He secretly swore in his heart that if he didn't destroy the Great Essence Realm and kill Ning Cheng in this life, his sea of consciousness would explode and he would die. There was no deeper hatred than seeing millions of his Dao Court army die in front of him. He saw millions of the Luoying Dao Court army die in front of him. They turned into a blood mist, and countless essence spirits howled and rolled in the trap and kill array. But in the end they still died. Primordial chaos sacred emperors, who had made countless contributions to his Dao Court army, also died tragically in front of him. In this super trap and kill array, which was commanded by millions of people and surrounded by millions of Grand Essence Realm soldiers, the Luoying Dao Court's Dao Court army could only be oppressed. This kind of hatred couldn't be washed away even if there were 3 rivers and 5 seas. I will be back. Jesse took in a deep breath and crushed the spatial escape talisman. A spatial force suddenly swept out from the center of the trap and kill array and bound his spatial escape talisman. The next moment, this spatial force hit his body. Not good. Jesse's soul dissipated. In this situation, if he still didn't know that Ning Cheng had targeted him, he wouldn't be worthy of being a Dao Court Lord. Jess didn't have any thoughts of finding trouble with Ning Cheng. With a wave of his hand, he brought out dozens of lights from his weapon. A tearing Dao light surged around him, isolating him from the spatial force binding him in an instant. However, before he could take the opportunity to use his escape talisman again, for forces that were not much inferior to his own bombarded him from all directions. The 4 spirit essences collided with the trap and kill array and created 4 vortexes. At the center of the 4 vortexes was the pale-faced Jesse. He understood that Ning Cheng was determined to kill him. Otherwise, Ning Cheng wouldn't have let 4 primordial chaos sacred emperors stop him from escaping. Jesse's face showed a trace of malevolence. If you want to kill me, you're still lacking something. At this moment, a red light appeared around him. If someone approached him, they would smell an extremely bloody aura from this red light. They would even feel the terrifying aura of Dao charm combined with the burning of one's lifespan. The 4 vortexes were stimulated by the red light and moved away. The spatial shackles loosened once again. In the middle of Jesse's spatial escape talisman, a terrifying force that tore through his sea of consciousness and ignored all spiritual consciousness defenses blasted over. This power was like a needle, and it directly blasted into Jesse's Zifu, and it instantly erupted with a kind of heaven-destroying and earth-exterminating power. Boom! Jesse felt a roar in his sea of consciousness, and his purple palace directly exploded. He had just brought out the spatial escape talisman when the light on it dimmed instantly. Endless darkness struck him, and Jesse suddenly remembered the oath he had made not long ago. Then, everything disappeared. Seeing that his dark consciousness explosion had killed Jesse, Ning Cheng also felt relieved. He raised his hand and took away Jesse's ring. 2 Dao integration realm experts and nearly 20 primordial chaos sacred emperors had escaped, while thousands of Dao essence and first step Dao confirming sacred emperors had risked their lives to rush into the spatial vortexes. Coupled with Jesse's escape, Ning Cheng killed him. The Luoying Dao Court's army and the experts who wanted to carve up the Grand Essence Realm to help the Boundless Palace didn't go. The Grand Change Realm's Luoying Dao Court and the Boundless Palace invaded the Grand Essence Realm. And in the end, the Grand Essence Realm won. The Grand Essence Realm only paid a measly 10,000 casualties. One Primordial Chaos Sacred Emperor died, but they killed more than 30 Primordial Chaos Sacred Emperors, millions of Dao Court's army, and hundreds of thousands of miscellaneous cultivators. This battle shocked the entire void and spread throughout the 5 Grand Realms in the shortest time. It also spread to the major void cities at the fastest speed. Feng Xian hadn't even returned to the Boundless Palace when the Boundless Palace's army was annihilated. Only Feng Xian and a few others survived. Some cultivators who were still on their way to the Grand Essence Realm to help the Boundless Palace turned around and fled. The Limitless Palace and whatnot had long been completely forgotten by people. No matter what the outcome of this battle was, the Grand Essence Realm was the biggest winner. Millions of rings, and almost 1/10 of them belonged to Dao-confirming Sacred Emperors, including dozens of Primordial Chaos Sacred Emperors. One could say that this battle had made the Grand Essence Realm overflowing with wealth. These people didn't come to rob the Grand Essence Realm, but to deliver treasures. The Grand Essence Realm celebration, rewards, and the establishment of the Grand Essence Merit Steel were all carried out in an orderly manner under the leadership of Li Feng and the others. Ningqing accompanied 37 Primordial Chaos powerhouses who came to help and drank top-grade spirit wine. These 37 people were all contacted by Wan Yuheng and Huang Bei's. Ningqing sincerely thanked these people who came from afar to help. He picked up his wine glass and stood up before speaking up eagerly. Everyone, when you learned that I, Ningqing, was in trouble, you all came from hundreds of millions of miles away to help. Ningqing would like to thank you all here. Wu Lin chuckled. We didn't do much to come here. We just watched Dao Friend Ning show off his divine might. You all killed millions of Dao Court's army with just a raise of your hand. It's truly impressive. In fact, Ningqing didn't expect Wu Lin to come to help. One had to know that when he first arrived at the Perpetual Moon sect, he fought against Wu Lin for the first time. After seeing his Sunset's Twilight Spirit technique, Wu Lin felt stimulated and retreated. Peng Yuan was almost the oldest among them. He also smiled and said, Wu Lin didn't say anything wrong. We came here to witness Dao Friend Ning's strength. I didn't expect Dao Friend Ning to reach the middle stage Dao Essence Realm in such a short time. This sentence was what everyone wanted to say. When Ningqing met them, he only had a Dao Transformation Realm cultivation. In just a short time, Ningqing had not only reached the Dao Essence Realm, but also reached the middle stage Dao Essence Realm. This made everyone feel that they didn't help the wrong person. The more potential Ningqing had, the more it showed that Ningqing was worth helping. Ningqing said sincerely, in fact, the next moment will be the most difficult time for me, and it's also the time when I need everyone's help. I'm sure that if the Grand Change Realm's experts came to the Grand Essence Realm, it wouldn't just be the Dao Court's army. There would even be several Dao Perfection experts. My hidden killing array can fool them once, but the second time, it can only be used as an ordinary trapping array. Chapter 1146. Chu Manha snorted. It's a pity that I haven't recovered my strength. If I had, I would have killed a Dao integration cultivator in the Great Change Realm like an ant. Ningqing thought to himself. This Chu Manha really dares to speak. She's just a Primordial Chaos Sacred Emperor, and a half-step Dao integration cultivator at best. Where does she get the confidence to kill Dao integration cultivators? However, he knew Chu Manha's personality. This woman was extremely proud. Even when she studied the Perpetual Moon Gate's trap array, she studied it alone and never teamed up with others. The black and white bearded man smiled when he saw Ningqing's expression. Daoist Ning, Daoist Chu is really qualified to say that. Almost all the Dao integration sacred emperors in the Perpetual Moon Gate perished in the chaotic Dao runes under the Perpetual Moon Abyss. If there is an exception, it would be Daoist Chu Manha. Daoist Chu is a Dao integration expert? Ningqing looked at Chu Manha in amazement. He had always thought that Chu Manha was at most a half-step Dao integration expert, no matter how strong she was. He had never expected Chu Manha to be a Dao integration expert. Chu Manha said proudly, if I hadn't gone to the Perpetual Moon Gate, would Jifeng Yu have been able to catch me with his cultivation? I went to the Perpetual Moon Gate voluntarily. I chose the Perpetual Moon Gate, to transcend the second Tao integration blight, because I wanted to break the trap array during my weekend period. Unfortunately, I'm still a little bit short. Her first few words were filled with pride, but Chu Manha's pride turned into a sigh. Choosing the perpetual moon gate to transcend the second Tao integration blight, and wanting to break the trap array of the perpetual moon gate during the second Tao integration blight was indeed something to be proud of. Unfortunately, she didn't succeed in the end. Ningqing was pleasantly surprised and quickly changed the topic. Taoist Chu and the other fellow Taoists, how can we restore our cultivation in the shortest time possible? Chu Manha spoke without any scruples and didn't know that her words were a little hurtful. Fortunately, everyone here came from the perpetual moon gate, and their cultivation levels were lower than Chu Manha's. Therefore, even if it was a little hurtful, no one said anything. Chu Manha sighed and said, "If I can go to the seven-colored phoenix's nirvana flame spring, I can fully restore my strength in 5 years at most." Ningcheng's heart suddenly moved when he heard this. Initially, he had heard from Xiang Dingtian that the seven-layered phoenix's nirvana flame spring and the five-clawed divine dragon's dragon washing pond could wash away the devilish contamination underground. He had cultivated in the dragon cleansing pool before, so he knew that the dragon cleansing pool could not only cleanse one's marrow and body, but it could also improve one's cultivation. It was highly possible that the Nirvana Flame Spring and the Dragon Cleansing Pond would have similar effects. Pang Yuan chuckled. If there's a Nirvana Flame Spring, even my old bones can recover their cultivation. Ningqing made up his mind. These people had come from afar. If he couldn't even part with a mere Dragon Cleansing Pond, it would be too much of a waste. Moreover, the Dragon Cleansing Pool was given to him by Ba Meng. Friends, although I'm a Tao Lord in the Grand Essence realm, there's not much I can help you with. However, I have a place that was left behind by a five-clawed divine dragon. If Ningcheng's words had not yet finished, when more than a dozen people suddenly stood up. Although they came to help Ningcheng, in fact their cultivations had not yet recovered. If they had the five-clawed divine dragon's dragon cleansing pool, they could recover their cultivation perfectly, and even wash away the filth in their bodies. Dao friend Ning, do you really have a dragon cleansing pond? Chu Manha asked with a trembling voice. This thing was much better than the Nirvana Flame Springs. Ningqing nodded. I really do have a dragon cleansing pond. Everyone, please follow me to the dragon cleansing pond to restore your cultivation. Once your cultivation recovers, if you're willing to stay within my grand essence boundary, I will be responsible for finding immortal caves for all of you. If you are willing to go far away, I Ningcheng will always be your friend. Wu Lin stood up and waved his hand. Dao friend Ning, since you came from the Perpetual Moon sect, I know that you are a forthright person. Tens of millions of divinity crystals were thrown out without batting an eyelid. Of course, tens of millions of spirit crystals were nothing in this place, but in the Perpetual Moon sect, it was a life-saving treasure. Now you can even tell us about the Dragon Cleansing Pond, and let us cultivate there. I, Wu Lin, have made friends with you. When my cultivation recovers, I will settle down in the Grand Essence realm. And me Yanbinji. I'm finished, Yu Hong. Not a single one was left behind. 37 holy emperors expressed their willingness to make friends with Ningcheng at the same time. Ningcheng grew happier. He knew that after Yu Hong sent out a message for help, the Perpetual Moon sect's holy emperors wouldn't just be these 37 people. Since these 37 people could come here, then they were all his friends. Since all of you can come here, then you are all my friends. Let's not delay, and head to the Dragon Cleansing Pond now. Ningcheng also knew that time was of the essence. Although he had won the war in the Grand Essence realm, the real crisis had just begun. The Grand Change realm didn't send out the Tao Court army, but once the Grand Change realm sent out the Tao Court army again, it would be a thunderous blow. He couldn't afford to take this risk. Therefore, preparing in advance was the only choice. While the Heaven Essence Sacred City was in a state of celebration, Ningcheng took the 37 people to the Dragon Cleansing Pond in the depths of the Grand Essence Sea. It really is the Dragon Cleansing Pond of a five-clawed divine dragon. The black and white-bearded man looked at the huge misty pond in front of him and exclaimed. White mist lingered over the Dragon Cleansing Pond, and the surrounding spirit chi was extremely dense. Everyone was overjoyed. Seeing the dragon cleansing pool meant that they would be able to recover their cultivation very soon. No one went down first. This place belonged to Ningcheng. Since Ningcheng brought them here, he would naturally let them go down and cultivate. But at least Ningcheng had to speak first. This was the most basic form of respect. Dao friend Ning, have you ever thought about taking away this dragon cleansing pond? Peng Yuan didn't wait for Ningcheng to speak and asked first. Ningcheng asked in surprise, "Can the dragon cleansing pond be taken away?" The black and white bearded man smiled. "Ordinary people can't take it away, but we can take it away. The dragon cleansing pond is condensed from an innate dragon pearl. As long as you can take away this innate dragon pearl, you can take away the dragon cleansing pond. The prerequisite is that you have to put this dragon pearl into the real sea to recondense the dragon cleansing pond." Ningcheng thought that he already had a real sea. The sea in the mysterious yellow bead was slowly taking shape. As long as he put this innate dragon pearl into it, wouldn't he be able to recondense the dragon cleansing pond? Thinking of this, Ningcheng asked, "Dao friend Black-White, how many innate dragon pearls are there in total?" The reason why Ningcheng asked this question was that he had obtained one from Mansuatian. He had placed this innate dragon pearl in the hidden killing array as the array core. Now that another one had appeared here, he naturally had to ask about it. The black and white bearded man explained, "There are a total of 10 innate dragon pearls, and each of these 10 dragon pearls has a different function. However, there are countless branches of the dragon clan. Only the branch of the dragon clan with the innate dragon pearl can be considered as a true descendant of the dragon clan. The dragon cleansing pond is a major reason why the five-clawed divine dragon can become the #1 dragon clan and rule over all the other dragon clans. Then how can we take away the innate dragon pearl from the dragon cleansing pond?" Ningcheng asked again. The black and white bearded man smiled. "That's simple. As long as the 36 primordial chaos holy emperors occupy the position, we can dig out this innate dragon pearl." Ningcheng finally understood what the black and white bearded man had said before. No wonder the black and white bearded man said that they could take away the dragon pearl. There were 37 primordial chaos holy emperors here, and Chu Manha was even a Dao integration powerhouse. Taking away an innate dragon pearl wouldn't be a big deal. Dao friend Ning, when our cultivation recovers, we will definitely work together to collect this innate dragon pearl and give it to you. A dark-faced late-stage primordial chaos holy emperor said with cupped fists. Ningcheng knew that his name was Tung Xian, and quickly thanked him with cupped fists. "Many thanks, Dao friend Tung Xian. This matter isn't urgent. Let's wait until everyone's cultivation recovers. Everyone, please stay here and recover your cultivation. I will go to the Grand Essence Ruins Burial Shadow Blue Sand to handle some matters. I believe that when I return to Heaven Essence Sacred City, everyone should have recovered their cultivation." When the primordial chaos powerhouses heard Ningcheng's words, they entered the dragon cleansing pond and began to recover their cultivation. As for the burial shadow blue sand that Ningcheng mentioned, they really didn't care about it. Heaven Essence Sacred City had already fallen into a sea of revelry. 2 Dao integration holy emperors and 1 Dao lord had led millions of Dao court troops to invade the Grand Essence realm. However, the Grand Essence realm's Dao court troops had beaten them to a pulp. Apart from less than 10,000 people who managed to escape, almost all of them died. Moreover, only 10,000 people died in the Grand Essence realm. In this battle, the Grand Essence realm obtained millions of rings. Even if many of the rings belonged to cultivators who hadn't reached Dao confirming realm, they still couldn't afford to lose so many rings. With so many resources, the Grand Essence realm didn't even need to take out half a piece of spirit crystal to reward all the cultivators who participated in the battle. In the middle of Heaven Essence Sacred City's public square, another Grand Essence Merit Stele was erected. The Merit Stele was erected in the name of the Grand Essence Dao Court's Dao Lord. Therefore, Ningcheng's name wasn't on it. But this time, the first place went to Sky Array Valley's Sect Master Sha Su. One could say that the reason why the Grand Essence Dao Court's army could defeat the invading enemy so easily, apart from Dao Lord Ningcheng's control, was because of Sha Su's contribution. After Ningcheng sent the perpetual moon sex reinforcements to the dragon cleansing pond, he immediately returned to Heaven Essence Sacred City. Many of the rewards in Heaven Essence Sacred City needed him as a Tao Lord. What's more, after such a carefree battle in the Grand Essence Realm, his position as a Tao Lord would become even more stable. Except for Jesse's ring, Ningcheng didn't touch any of the spoils of war, and placed them all in the Tao court. After sorting them out, Ningcheng sent them out. Ningcheng took a look at Jesse's ring. It should contain a world. Ningcheng didn't have time to refine this world. He had to hurry up and deal with the post-war matters before heading to the burial Shadow Blue Sand. As soon as Ningcheng returned to Heaven Essence Sacred City, Li Feng handed him a ring. Tao Lord, we've sorted out a total of 163 top-grade spirit veins and 57,000 high-grade spirit veins from this battle. High-grade spirit veins are to be used as rewards for the Grand Essence Tao Court's army. You have 50 top-grade spirit veins in here. After our unanimous agreement, we decided to give them to you for cultivation, and to arrange your Grand Essence Mountain's spiritual gathering array. You're a Tao Lord of the Grand Essence Realm. After this battle, you'll be as stable as Mount Tai. The faster your cultivation improves, the better. So, you can keep these spirit veins. Chapter 1147. Ningcheng was taken aback when he heard more than 100 top-grade God Spirit veins. More than 50,000 high-grade God Spirit veins was nothing to him. War was the way to make money. This was the truth everywhere. Don't look at how a Tao Integration Holy Emperor casually took out 10 high-grade God Spirit veins. Ningcheng knew very well that 10 high-grade God Spirit veins were definitely a top-notch wealth. Now that everyone agreed to give him 50, Ningcheng didn't refuse and directly put them away. He really needed top-grade God Spirit veins. Otherwise, he wouldn't have participated in the 5 Realms Pill competition for a top-grade God Spirit vein. What Li Feng said was right, improving his strength was the most important thing for him. Hundreds of millions of people gathered on the Heaven Essence Sacred City's public square. The boundless Heaven Essence public square seemed a little small at this time. When Ningcheng appeared on the main altar of the public square, the entire Heaven Essence Sacred City burst into cheers. The title of Tao Monarch Ningcheng spread out continuously, as if it would never stop. Everyone knew that without Tao Monarch Ningcheng, the Grand Essence Realm would have been reduced to rubble under the attack of millions of Tao Court Army and 2 Tao Integration Holy Emperors. The Heaven Essence Sacred City would have also been razed to the ground. Some big sects might have survived, but many small sects would have disappeared from the Grand Essence Realm. One could say that Ningcheng arranged the Grand Essence Realm's defensive array, established the Grand Essence Tao Court, and established the Grand Essence Tao Court Army, saving the entire Grand Essence Realm. Even the harshest people felt that Ningcheng deserved such cheers. Perhaps Ningcheng took the lead in establishing the Grand Essence Realm's defensive array to protect himself. But who could guarantee that without Ningcheng, another Grand Essence Realm's Holy Emperor wouldn't offend a powerhouse and cause the Tao Court Army to come to the Grand Essence Realm? Ningcheng also felt a little excited. He knew that he had finally gained the recognition of the vast majority of Grand Essence Realm's cultivators, and gained the status of a true Tao monarch. Ningcheng raised his hand, and the cheers on the Heaven Essence Sacred City's public square instantly quieted down. Fellow Taoists of my Grand Essence Realm, Feng Xian and Ao Beijiang, 2 Tao Integration Holy Emperors, led the Grand Simplicity Glazed Jade Tao Court Army to destroy my Grand Essence Realm. Fortunately, my Grand Essence Realm was united and almost wiped out the Glazed Jade Tao Court Army, saving our home. This glory and passion belongs to every cultivator of the Grand Essence Realm. Every cultivator who died for the Grand Essence Realm deserved supreme rewards and respect. We will send their souls into the cycle of reincarnation. Even if they can't be reincarnated, we will hand over their glory to the people around them. Whether or not the Grand Essence Realm's laws will be restored in the future, we will always remember them. Even if Ningcheng's words sounded tacky and didn't have the demeanor of a cultivator, it still inspired many cultivators to feel a sense of belonging to the Grand Essence Realm. Even though the battle in the Grand Essence Realm had just ended. After another round of cheers, Ningcheng continued, This time, although my Grand Essence realm destroyed a Dao court army, I believe this isn't the end. As my Grand Essence realm becomes more and more perfect, more and more people will covet this place. They want to use the Grand Essence realm as their back garden. They will come up with all kinds of rotten excuses to come back to my Grand Essence realm. As the Dao Lord of the Grand Essence realm, I will say the same thing. Taisu is my home. If you want to come here and cause trouble, as long as I still have a drop of blood left, I will fight until the end. There are only bleeding cultivators in the Grand Essence realm, no cowards begging for mercy. There are only bleeding cultivators in the Grand Essence realm, no cowards begging for mercy. We will fight together with Dao Lord. Listening to the enthusiastic cheers, everyone understood that Ningcheng, as Dao Lord Grand Essence, had been thoroughly acknowledged by the people of the Grand Essence realm. Outside the Grand Essence ruins burial shadow blue sand. This was Ningcheng's second time coming here. After dealing with the matters of the Grand Essence Dao Court, he immediately left the Grand Essence domain and entered the Grand Essence ruins. Seeing the many figures coming and going in the Grand Essence ruins, Ningcheng decided to abolish the Grand Essence ruins rule of entering the Grand Essence domain after he came out of the burial shadow blue sand. The Grand Essence domain was the place with the densest spirit chi in the Grand Essence realm. It was also a place with slightly more complete laws. However, many people couldn't enter the Grand Essence domain to cultivate in their entire lives. Since everyone was in the Grand Essence realm, it was unfair to some people. Standing outside the burial shadow blue sand, one could only see endless blue at a glance. The burial shadow blue sand, as always, tumbled like a blue ocean, with a sad beauty. Ningcheng didn't hesitate. This time, he didn't even bring out the everlasting blue Thunder City, and rushed into the burial shadow blue sand. As soon as he entered the burial shadow blue sand, a blue whirlpool swept over. These powerful blue whirlpools could even suck Ningcheng away in the past. But now that they wrapped around Ningcheng's body, they could only cause Ningcheng's robes to flutter. These blue whirlpools looked like melted snowflakes. Ningcheng knew that even if he grabbed them, they would quickly melt away. Ningcheng's spirit essence stirred slightly, and a Dao charm domain formed a space around him. The blue quicksand hit the outside of this space and quickly disappeared without a trace. Not even a single grain could fall on Ningcheng's body. Ningcheng sighed at the increase in his strength. When he first came here, he had to be careful in the blue sand whirlpools. If he wasn't careful, he would get swept away by the whirlpools. But now he could walk freely in it. The damage these whirlpools could do to him was almost zero. After entering the burial shadow blue sand, Ningcheng's speed grew faster and faster. In just one day, he entered the depths of the burial shadow blue sand. The burial shadow blue sand was boundless. Even with Ningcheng's middle stage Dao essence cultivation, he couldn't touch the edge and find Qi Shizingsing. The only thing he could do now was to go to the gray stone steel, kill it, and find the problem. Whether Qi Shizingsing's disappearance was caused by the gray stone steel or not, Lu Fenglin's appearance had something to do with the gray stone steel. With Ningcheng's current strength, he didn't need to follow the map jade strip to find the gray stone steel. Instead, he swept out with his spiritual consciousness. When he used the spiritual consciousness chop in this place, his spiritual consciousness could only reach about 10,000 meters. At this time, even if he didn't use the spiritual consciousness chop, he could still sweep out to a distance of 100,000 meters. If he used his spiritual consciousness, he could even sweep out to a distance of 1,000,000 meters. Ningcheng swept through a large area. But apart from a few sparse cultivators, Ningcheng didn't see any gray stone steel. Ningcheng swept through a huge blue vortex. But to Ningcheng's surprise, his spiritual consciousness sensed an aura from this blue vortex. Ningcheng was just about to rush over when the call of Thorn's Umru arrived. This time, Ningcheng saw it clearly. Thorn's Umru came from that blue vortex. Some cultivators, on hearing Thorn's Umru, immediately started running away. Ningcheng didn't run away. Instead, he rushed towards the burial shadow demon. The first time he came here, he almost died at the hands of the burial shadow demon. Fortunately, he had the everlasting blue thunder fort, which blocked several attacks from the burial shadow demon. Sure enough, the burial shadow demon that called out Thorns Umru felt that Ningqing didn't run away and instead came towards it. Therefore, it screamed Thorns Umru and rushed towards Ningqing. A burial shadow demon that could call out Thorns Umru was quite powerful. Ningqing could easily kill an ordinary burial shadow demon when he was in the Dao sculpting realm. The last time he saw such a burial shadow demon, he had to bring out the Seven Bridges spirit technique. Lu Fenglin had to use a substandard Dao splitting bead to severely injure the burial shadow demon. This time Ningqing didn't move. Instead, his spiritual consciousness swept towards the burial shadow demon. Last time, his spiritual consciousness could only see a ball and nothing else. But this time, Ningqing's spiritual consciousness found a trace of spiritual soul aura within the burial shadow demon's body. In just a moment, the burial shadow demon rushed to Ningqing's side and opened its mouth to bite Ningqing. Ningqing didn't move. He didn't even take out the void cold light spear. Instead, he punched out. This punch contained the aura of his Taoist rhyme, and the surrounding blue vortex was instantly torn apart by this punch. The majestic spirit essence power fused with the Dao charm aura and slammed into the burial shadow demon's body. Creak! A shrill scream came from the burial shadow demon's body. Ningqing's violent punch instantly shattered the vortex of blue sand that wrapped around the burial shadow demon's body. A blue shadow rushed out. Unexpectedly, it didn't die. Instead, it staggered and tried to escape. Ningqing raised his hand and made a few hand gestures, causing a virtual space to appear in an instant. The blue shadow that wanted to escape did not resist at all as Ningqing wrapped it up and threw it into a jade box. Immediately after, he sealed it with several restrictions. Apart from the Dao charm aura left behind by Ningqing's punch, there was nothing else around. Ningqing couldn't help but sigh. The burial shadow demon, which had almost killed him before, had been easily killed by him. Ningqing vaguely felt that this burial shadow demon wasn't just a simple spiritual soul body. His spiritual consciousness swept into the sealed burial shadow demon. Ningqing was surprised to find that the burial shadow demon he sealed had disappeared. Apart from a few grains of blue sand, there was nothing inside the jade box. Ningqing felt sure that his seal wouldn't have any problems. With his attainments in the Tao of Arrays, even if he sealed a primordial chaos holy emperor, it wouldn't disappear in such a short time. This was too strange. Just when Ningqing wanted to take a look at the remaining grains of sand, a sharp murderous intent came from behind him. The everlasting blue thunder fort moved at will and directly blocked behind him. Boom! With an explosion, several lightning bolts and flames splashed out. When the blue sand vortex in the distance met these flames, it directly turned into a vacuum of nothingness. Ningqing had just seen a man in a dark red robe sneak attack him when thousands of fire spear patterns shot out from the man's body. The Dao charm of the fire spear patterns swept towards Ningqing. At this moment, Ningqing felt like he was in a world of fire. In this world, there were no other laws, only flames. This was the manifestation of a flame spirit technique reaching its peak. Chapter 1148. Playing with fire? Ningqing snickered. The celestial river flame had already started pulsing, apparently wanting to devour all these flames. Flame devour didn't mean that a high-grade flame could devour a low-grade flame. Only when the difference between the two flames reached a certain degree, or when one of the flames was heaven-defying to a certain degree, could it easily devour the other flame. At this moment, the flames around Ningqing formed a sea of fire. Endless fire-patterned spears wrapped around Ningqing's everlasting blue thunder fort. The sea of fire continued to split into fire-patterned spears and poured into the everlasting blue thunder fort. Ningqing immediately felt sure that this was a god-grade flame. Moreover, it was a god-grade flame with a strong offensive power. However, Ningqing didn't immediately fight back. He felt that this red-robed man looked a little familiar. The red-robed man looked at his sea of fire spear patterns bombarding the everlasting blue thunder fort and devouring the thunder over the blue thunder fort. However, Ningqing didn't move. He understood that Ningqing couldn't do anything to his flames. His sea of fire continued to heat up, and the number of fire-patterned spears attacking Ningqing's everlasting blue thunder fort kept increasing. In addition to the fire-patterned spears, A flaming blade began to form. Your spirit technique is a sea of fire? What's your relationship with Ding Si? When I killed Ding Si, I got a spoil of war called Blade Mountain. Ningqing suddenly asked. The red-robed man ground his teeth. Today, I came to avenge Ding Si. Remember, when you become a burial shadow demon in the future, don't forget that it was Ding San who helped you. As the red-robed man's voice fell, the sea of fire wrapped around Ningqing finally turned violent, forming endless waves of fire that swept towards Ningqing. The laws of space contained only fire-attributed laws. Therefore, the attack formed from the laws of living attribute instantly wrapped around Ningqing and the everlasting blue thunder fort. Ningqing shook his head. Even an early-stage Dao Essence cultivator wanted to help him. Had this fellow never gone out before? Or did he think that he was the king in the burial shadow blue sand? In fact, Ningqing wasn't wrong. In the burial shadow blue sand, not many people could have such a powerful spiritual consciousness like him. The overwhelming flames rushed over. Ningqing raised his hand and brought out the celestial river flame, while casting a law-breaking spirit technique. The surrounding fire-attributed laws instantly weakened, and various elemental laws flooded in, weakening the volcano. The celestial river flame gave out an excited cry and turned into a giant blue mouth. The giant mouth was like an enhanced version of a vacuum cleaner, sucking away all the endless flames that trapped Ningqing. The red-robed man at the periphery watched in shock as the flames turned into a fire dragon and were swept away by the Milky Way, dumbfounded. After a while he murmured in shock, "This is the sacred flame galaxy." The scarlet-robed man no longer cared about killing Ningqing, nor did he care about his flames, as he quickly turned around and madly retreated. An ice-cold spear shadow cut through the void and pierced through his glabella, followed by Ningqing's voice. "Are you going to be like Ding Si and tell me that I can't kill you, and that if I kill you, I will die without a burial?" Ding San looked at Ningqing's void-cold light spear, and did not speak up from the beginning to the end. With a twist of Ningqing's void-cold light spear, Ding San's corporeal body directly exploded, while his life essence also disappeared without a trace. Back then, Ding Si's origins were mysterious. This Ding San was just as mysterious as Ding Si. Moreover, both of them appeared after the burial shadow demons. One's weapon was a blade mountain, while the other had a sea of fire. Coupled with Ding San saying that he wanted to turn him into a burial shadow demon, Ningqing guessed that the burial shadow demons in this place were artificially created. Through the cultivator's life essence, through many means, one could fuse it into a burial shadow demon. The only thing that Ningqing could not understand was that the burial shadow blue sand, which seemed to be real and illusory at the same time. Putting away the celestial river flame, Ningqing's spiritual consciousness continued to sweep through the burial shadow blue sand. In the burial shadow blue sand, even a primordial chaos holy emperor would not be as powerful as him. In this place, other people's spiritual consciousness would be affected, but his spiritual consciousness would remain unaffected. In addition to the spiritual consciousness cultivation method, Ningqing's spiritual consciousness tempering in the perpetual moon abyss also played a crucial role. Although the blue sand vortex in the burial shadow blue sand was strong, it could not compare to the violent Dao charm that cut through one sea of consciousness in the perpetual moon abyss. The burial shadow demons here seemed to recognize Ningqing. Ningqing had once slaughtered them in this place. Now that Ningqing was rampaging through the burial shadow blue sand, the burial shadow demons sensed Ningqing and immediately avoided him. For them, Ningqing did not belong to the Thorns Umru. However, Ningqing killed the burial shadow demons everywhere. For these burial shadow demons to exist in this place, someone must have specially raised them. It was just like how Ding San and Ding Si had a relationship with the burial shadow demons. As long as he killed enough burial shadow demons, someone would come out to look for him. A few days passed by in a flash, but Ningqing still could not find the gray-colored stone steel. He could only focus on killing the burial shadow demons in the burial shadow blue sand. No matter how fast the burial shadow demons were, they could not hide from Ningqing's spiritual consciousness. In just a few days, Ningqing had killed 6 burial shadow demons with the name Thorns Umru. This was the 7th burial shadow demon that Ningqing had seen. This burial shadow demon felt very interesting. After seeing Ning Cheng, it did not flee. Instead, it crazily rushed in a certain direction. In addition, Ning Cheng also noticed something different about this burial shadow demon. The other burial shadow demons were wrapped in a mass of blue sand. When one's spiritual consciousness swept in, they could only see a vague shadow, just like an essence spirit. However, this burial shadow demon seemed to be wrapped in a mass of blue quicksand. When one's spiritual consciousness seeped in, one could vaguely see a complete humanoid figure. Not only that, but the blue quicksand wrapping around this burial shadow demon was also several times larger than the other burial shadow demons. Within the burial shadow blue sand, Ning Cheng's speed was extremely fast. However, this burial shadow demon's speed was not any slower than Ning Cheng's. With such a huge body made of blue sand, it moved quickly within the burial shadow blue sand. What made Ning Cheng even more puzzled was that when this burial shadow demon rushed to the side of another burial shadow demon, it suddenly blasted out several lightning arcs. These lightning arcs turned out to be incredibly powerful. When they struck the other burial shadow demon, the other burial shadow demon immediately disintegrated and dissipated. Compared to Ning Cheng's burial shadow demons, these lightning arcs did not pale in comparison. These lightning arcs contained a terrifying tearing Dao charm power, which gave Ning Cheng a feeling of shock. Ning Cheng had a thunder-attributed spiritual root, and had seen many kinds of lightning arcs. However, he had never seen such terrifying lightning arcs. Moreover, this was just a casual attack. If the two of them faced off against each other, these lightning arcs would definitely be a huge killing tool. Was it not a burial shadow demon? Ning Cheng sped up again, and at the same time, a storm of dark consciousness swept towards the burial shadow demon in front of him. This burial shadow demon immediately felt Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness invading it. Its huge body suddenly trembled, and several lightning arcs shot towards Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng looked sluggish as he let the lightning arcs hit him. The powerful tearing Dao charm of the lightning arcs tore through his clothes, and even left several bloody marks on his body. He recognized the huge sphere wrapped in the blue quicksand. It was Qi Shixingsing. Qi Shixingsing seemed to have some differences from the other burial shadow demons. If this continued, Ning Cheng felt sure that Qi Shixingsing would become a real burial shadow demon sooner or later. What shocked Ning Cheng even more was that Qi Shixingsing was already a Dao transformation holy emperor. When he and Qi Shixingsing separated, Qi Shixingsing was only a Dao sculpting cultivator. How long has it been? Ning Cheng knew that the reason he could advance to the Dao essence realm so quickly was mainly due to the help of his growth rings. Qi Shixingsing didn't have any growth rings in the burial shadow blue sand. Moreover, even if Qi Shixingsing advanced to the Dao transformation realm, he couldn't injure him with 2 random lightning arcs. From this, Ning Cheng understood that Qi Shixingsing's lightning arcs were by no means ordinary. Ning Cheng immediately thought back to when Qi Shixingsing came to the Grand Essence ruins to look for the Grand Essence Spirit Thunder. Did Qi Shixingsing bring out the Grand Essence Spirit Thunder just now? 2 random lightning arcs, even without him realizing it, could injure a middle-stage Dao Essence cultivator. Just how strong was this Grand Essence Spirit Thunder? Just as Ning Cheng's thoughts turned, Qi Shixingsing had already gone far away. Ning Cheng quickly sped up and chased after him. At the same time, he condensed his voice and shouted, "Qi Shixingsing." Qi Shixingsing, who was running away, seemed to feel Ning Cheng's call and paused. Ning Cheng felt overjoyed. Since Qi Shixingsing could still remember this name, it meant that he hadn't completely lost his mind. Just as Ning Cheng sped up and rushed towards Qi Shixingsing, ready to tie up Qi Shixingsing and take him away, Qi Shixingsing sped up again and rushed forward. But before Ning Cheng could speed up to stop Qi Shixingsing, a mountain-like gray stone tablet suddenly appeared where Qi Shixingsing had just stood and stopped Ning Cheng. There was nothing behind the gray stone tablet, and Qi Shixingsing had disappeared without a trace. Ning Cheng stopped. He didn't know why Qi Shixingsing hadn't completely turned into a burial shadow demon after struggling for decades in here. But he knew that Qi Shixingsing's changes most likely had something to do with the gray stone tablet. Even the burial shadow demons in the entire burial shadow blue sand had something to do with the stone tablet. Bringing out the void cold light spear, Ningqing shot it towards the gray stone tablet. A violent and majestic force immediately rushed towards Ningqing. This force was several times more powerful than Ningqing's spear attack. Ningqing ended up suffering a backlash from this extremely powerful force, causing his entire person to tumble backwards, causing his heart to churn violently. Ningqing didn't continue to attack the gray stone tablet. Instead, he called out Lu Fenglin. When Lu Fenglin saw the gray stone tablet in front of her, anger flared up in her eyes. "Brother Ning, this is the stone tablet. Have you found it?" Ningqing asked in a deep voice. "Junior apprentice Sister Fenglin, what else did you see when you first saw Qi Shizengxing in the burial shadow blue sand? Did he have blue quicksand outside his body? Did it even wrap around him and give him the appearance of a burial shadow demon?" Lu Fenglin calmed down and recalled it for a while before speaking. "I remember that there was some blue sand flowing around him. At that time, I thought that it was normal to have blue sand flowing around one's body in the burial shadow blue sand. But now that I think about it, he really did have a thin layer of blue sand around him." Ningqing nodded and spoke to the gray stone tablet in a cold voice. "I don't care what you are doing, but Qi Shizengxing is my brother. You have to bring him out immediately. Otherwise, I will lead the Grand Essence Dao Quartz army to trample over the burial shadow blue sand, and the burial shadow blue sand will become history in the Grand Essence ruins." As Ningqing's voice fell, the gray stone tablet suddenly erupted with a violent blue vortex. This blue vortex then swept towards Ningqing and Lu Fenglin. Ningqing's expression changed. He didn't expect that the gray stone tablet would not only not release Qi Shizengxing, but also take away Lu Fenglin. Chapter 1149. The void cold light spear shot out in a flash, creating countless ripples of Dao patterns. Ningqing's Dao charm power collided with the blue vortex, creating a huge vacuum space. Lu Fenglin felt her body lighten, and her entire body flew out before landing next to Ningqing. The gray steel blocking Ningqing's path also disappeared without a trace at this time. The place where the steel disappeared was the huge gully created by the Dao charm impact. Ningqing looked at the huge gully with a gloomy expression. He knew very well that with his current strength, it would be difficult to kill the gray steel in the burial shadow blue sand. In the burial shadow blue sand, the power of the gray steel couldn't do anything to him, and he couldn't do anything to the gray steel. Lu Fenglin's expression also turned ugly. The disappearance of the gray steel meant that she would have to continue to suffer the pain of the void draining her blood. Ningqing understood Lu Fenglin's thoughts. He raised his hand and grabbed Lu Fenglin's wrist and said, "I'll help you see what the gray steel planted in your body." Although he couldn't do anything to the gray steel, it didn't mean that Ningqing couldn't help Lu Fenglin. No matter how strong the gray steel was, it couldn't stop his spiritual consciousness from inspecting Lu Fenglin. Lu Fenglin nodded. She regretted not letting Ningqing inspect her earlier. If she had let Ningqing inspect her earlier, she might not have suffered so much and wouldn't have to embarrass herself in front of Ningqing. No woman would want their skinny body to be examined by others. At this moment, she had a good understanding of her body. The grace she had in the past had long since disappeared, leaving behind only dry bones and blackened skin. Ningqing's spiritual consciousness was so powerful that only peak-level primordial chaos holy emperors could match it. His spiritual consciousness instantly swept through Lu Fenglin's body. In a short time, he found a faint shadow in Lu Fenglin's Zifu. This shadow was similar to the burial shadow demon. An ordinary spiritual consciousness couldn't find it. Ningqing even suspected that if Lu Fenglin had let him inspect her back then, he might not have found this faint shadow. This faint shadow hid in the depths of Lu Fenglin's sea of consciousness. It carried the aura of power of hope and a bloody smell. Ningqing did not greet Lu Fenglin. Instead, a few spiritual consciousness blades twisted around Lu Fenglin's sea of consciousness, causing Lu Fenglin to let out a pitiful scream. Immediately, a faintly discernible shadow emerged from Lu Fenglin's sea of consciousness, and was sent into a jade box, while simultaneously placing several restrictions on it. Ningqing put the jade box in his hand, and sent a message to the celestial river flame. A flame immediately swept over and took away the jade box. "Burn it for me, but don't burn it all at once." After Ning Cheng told the celestial river flame, he took out a few medicinal pills and put them directly into Lu Fanglin's mouth. Lu Fanglin, who was howling miserably, instantly calmed down. Her gray hair turned jet black at a speed visible to the naked eye, and her skinny body gradually filled out. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Lu Fanglin had already recovered 60% of her original appearance. It's all right. I've helped you get rid of the threat in your sea of consciousness. As long as you have a few more years to recuperate, you will return to your original state. This gray steel can no longer absorb your essence blood, and it can no longer control your will to worship it. Ning Qing looked at Lu Fanglin's transformation and comforted her with a few words. Lu Fanglin gave an sound and spoke up. Senior apprentice brother Ning, I want to join your mysterious yellow sect and stay in the Grand Essence Mountains to cultivate. Ning Cheng guessed that Yan Ji must have told her about the mysterious yellow sect, but he didn't care about it. Of course, when things are over here, you can stay in the Grand Essence Mountains to cultivate. But for now you can enter the true spirit world. I want to destroy this thing. Lu Fanglin, on hearing Ning Cheng's words, asked in disbelief, but I can't keep that gray steel. Although she spoke tactfully, what she really meant was that with Ning Cheng's current cultivation, it was almost impossible for him to destroy the steel. Ning Cheng showed a smile and said, Don't worry, I have a way. After saying that, he directly sent Lu Fanglin into the true spirit world. Lu Fanglin had just disappeared when a shrill scream came from the depths of the endless burial shadow blue sand. Then a Dao charm aura burst out in the distance. Ning Cheng secretly felt happy in his heart. Even if he couldn't destroy the steel now, the celestial river flame could burn away the blood-soul spiritual sense left by the steel in Lu Fanglin's sea of consciousness. It was enough to make this stone eat a big pot. After taking care of the steel, Ning Cheng didn't continue to stay in the burial shadow blue sand. After coming out of the burial shadow blue sand, he directly sent out a Dao Lord command to Li Feng. It wasn't just the burial shadow blue sand that angered him. More importantly, he had to rescue Qi Shixingsing as soon as possible. He was also a Dao Lord of the Grand Essence Dao Court. This time, he mobilized 5 million troops from the Dao Court. Even if it took a few years, he wanted the burial shadow blue sand to disappear from the Grand Essence ruins. This was one of the 5 forbidden areas of the Grand Essence realm. From now on, he would never see it again. If it were before the war with the Grand Change realm, Ning Cheng would never mobilize the Dao Court's army to destroy the burial shadow blue sand. But he also knew that even if he did this, he wouldn't be able to mobilize the Grand Essence Dao Court's army. He might be able to mobilize the Grand Essence Dao Court's army to deal with the invasion of foreign enemies. But he couldn't mobilize them to come to the Grand Essence ruins to work for him. When Ning Cheng's Dao Lord command token arrived at the Heaven Essence Sacred City, Li Feng immediately summoned the sect masters of the major sects and the 10 court pillars to discuss the deployment of the army. Court Pillar Li, I don't think this is appropriate. When Li Feng issued Ning Cheng's Dao Lord command token, the first one to stand up and oppose it was Profound Moon Spirit Gate's sect master Fei Feng. He was also one of the 10 court pillars of the Dao Court. Oh, why does Court Pillar Fei feel that it's inappropriate? Li Feng asked calmly. Fei Feng cupped his fists towards Li Feng, and then walked around with cupped fists before speaking with a solemn voice. The main purpose of the Grand Essence Realm's Dao Court army is to maintain the safety of the Grand Essence Realm. In other words, it's to resist foreign enemies. Dao Lord Ning also said that although we defeated the invading Luiying Dao Court army, no one can guarantee that the Grand Change Realm's Dao Court army won't come back. At this point, Fei Feng paused, and his tone turned even more solemn than before. If our Dao Court army leaves the Heaven Essence Sacred City for Dao Lord's personal matters, what if the Grand Change Realm invades? The Dao Court army can't disregard the public for private reasons. Dao Lord Ning is the pillar of our Grand Essence Realm. He shouldn't go to a dangerous place like the burial shadow blue sand. What if something happens? For the safety of our Grand Essence Realm, and for the safety of Dao Lord Ning, I don't recommend sending the Dao Court army to the burial shadow blue sand. Li Feng nodded. Well, Court Pillar Fei's words aren't unreasonable. Is there anyone else who disagrees or shares the same opinion? To everyone's surprise, 9 revolving sacred Dao Pon's sect master Dai Fu stood up and said, I agree with Court Pillar Fei's opinion. The Grand Essence Dao Court Army is here to protect the Grand Essence realm. We can't casually send them to the Grand Essence ruins, let alone the burial Shadow Blue Sand. In a place like the burial Shadow Blue Sand, even a primordial chaos holy emperor would most likely die. Many of the Grand Essence Dao Court Army's cultivators have yet to reach Dao confirming realm. I'm afraid that going to that place would only result in death. Everyone knew that 9 revolving sacred Dao Pons Shi Yiqing supported Ningcheng. But they didn't expect 9 revolving sacred Dao Pons Dai Fu to put forward the opposite opinion. I, Zhu Fenghen, firmly disagree with Court Pillar Fei and that Court Pillar Fei. What is a Dao Lord? Since Ningcheng is a Dao Lord of my Grand Essence Dao Court, he should have the right to mobilize any Dao Court army. If he can't even mobilize the Dao Court army, then what kind of Dao Lord is he? Grand Essence Pill Association's law protector Zhu Fenghen was the first to stand up and refute. I, Beit Saixia, support sending the army to the Grand Essence ruins to respond to Dao Lord Ning. The Pill Association's second primordial chaos holy emperor stood up and expressed his stance. Unfortunately, neither Beit Saixia nor Zhu Fenghen had any military power, so they could only protest. Li Feng inadvertently frowned slightly. But just as he was about to continue speaking, Sha Su, who was sitting on the 10th court pillar, suddenly stood up. My 10th Dao Court Army supports Dao Monarch Ningcheng. Wherever Dao Monarch's token points, my 10th Dao Court Army will fight. The main members of every Dao Court Army were the pillars of their sections. Therefore, every Dao Court Army was basically controlled by the leader. Sha Su's 10th Dao Court Army was almost entirely composed of array formation masters. This was also the Dao Court Army that Ningcheng valued the most. In fact, when Sha Su destroyed the Glazed Mist Dao Court Army, he made the greatest contribution. Sha Su also trusted Ningcheng the most. Not only did Ningcheng promote his Sky Array Valley to the top 10 sects, but he also taught him many array Dao profundities. More importantly, Ningcheng had a kind of prestige in Sha Su's heart. This prestige made Sha Su not only admire Ningcheng, but also submit to him. Now that Ningcheng issued an order in the name of a Dao Lord, even if his cultivation was the lowest and he wasn't even a primordial chaos holy emperor, he was the first to stand up and support Ningcheng. Even if the other 9 great Dao Court armies did not come out, they would not be able to stop his celestial Array Valley Dao Court Army. My 7th Dao Court Army supports the Dao Lord's decree. As long as the Dao Lord's decree is issued, I can bring 1,000,000 Dao Court Army into the Grand Essence ruins at any time. Flaming Feather Spirit Mountain's sect master Peng Qiyuan was the second to stand up and express his stance. Immediately after, Sunken Fish Palace's Palace Master Luan, Desolate God Palace's sect master Xiao Luojin, and 7-Star Sacred Shrine's vice sect master Mu Yuankong also stood up and expressed their willingness to join the army. Looking at River Luo Sacred Sect's sect master Wang Huazhong and Silver Dragon Clan's patriarch Gong Wu, who were still hesitating, Li Feng took the initiative to interrupt their hesitation and said, Dao Lord said that only 5 million Dao Court troops can go to the Grand Essence ruins. In that case, Court Pillar Sha, Court Pillar Peng, Court Pillar Xiao, Court Pillar Luan and Court Pillar Mu will lead the 5 armies to the Grand Essence ruins burial Shadow Blue Sand. As for the other 5 Dao Court armies, they will continue to stay in Heaven Essence Sacred City to defend against any external enemies. To be honest, Li Feng was already relieved that the 5 great Dao Court armies were willing to go. If he did not have the 5 million Dao Court soldiers, he would probably have to bring the Dao Court army with him. Once he went, Heaven Essence Sacred City would lose a confidant of Ningcheng. Li Feng wholeheartedly helped Ningcheng, because he firmly believed that the Grand Essence realm could prosper in Ningcheng's hands. In any case, he would never allow anyone to drag Ningcheng down. Chapter 1150. Ao Beijiang was definitely one of the super experts in the Great Change realm. Perhaps Ao Beijiang's strength could not be ranked in the top 10 of the Great Change realm, but there was one thing about him that no one could compare to. He was very good friends with the Great Change realm's realm lord Yin Xingwen. In addition, he had a disciple Wuxia, who was the leader of the Tai Pill Gathering and the initiator of the Five Realms Pill competition. Ao Beijiang's name was like the rising sun in the Tai Pill Gathering. Because of this, Ao Beijiang's cave abode was also a famous location of God's spiritual qi in the Great Change Realm. At this moment, Ao Beijiang was sitting in his cave abode with a wretched look on his face. He did not have the slightest bit of joy that a peak-grade paradise should have. Opposite him sat the Great Change Pill Association master, who was also Ao Beijiang's disciple Wuxia. Wuxia looked like a youth, but in fact his cultivation level was already at the half-step Dao integration realm. He just needed one more step to succeed in Dao integration. After a long time, Ao Beijiang let out a long sigh. I didn't think that a mere pill saint would be so difficult to deal with. He used a hidden death trap array to annihilate the millions of soldiers of the Glazeding Dao court. Even Dao monarch Jesse wasn't able to escape. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I definitely wouldn't believe it. Wuxia hesitated before speaking. Master, if I didn't guess wrong, Ningqing deliberately chose not to participate in the third round of the Five Realms Pill competition. This person's schemes run deep, it's really hard to fathom. Ao Beijiang nodded. I've long guessed that he didn't participate in the third round of the competition on purpose. I just didn't expect him to be this scheming. He used hundreds of thousands of alchemists and spent several years to set up a defense array. He even hid a trap-killing array with a Khanate treasure array core in the defense array. Master, what do you plan to do? Although Wuxia did not want to participate in this meaningless fight, he was helpless as Ao Beijiang had taught him. Ao Beijiang's expression darkened even further. I'm a Dao integration stage Holy Emperor, yet I was ambushed by a mere Dao essence ant. If I can't get my revenge, my path will end here. If we want revenge, we can only contact the other Dao courts. At this point, Ao Beijiang shook his head. I don't think I have to take the initiative to contact the other Dao courts. Very soon, the Realm Lord and the Dao Lords of the other Dao courts will invite me. With such a huge incident happening in the Grand Change Realm, it would be strange if the Realm Lord and the Dao Lords didn't invite him over for a cup of tea. Sure enough, before Wuxia could answer, a red light landed in front of Ao Beijiang. Ao Beijiang's spiritual force scanned the red light before he stood up and said, Zuoxiao, come with me to the Great Change Realm's main mountain. The most famous treasured land in the Grand Change Realm was not the five major Dao courts, nor was it the seclusion of the Dao integration experts. It was the Realm Lord Peak. The World Lord Peak was the place where the World Lord of the Supreme Change World resided. Only when something major happened would the World Lord Peak invite people in. Those who could be invited by the Realm Lord were either Dao integration experts, Dao Lords of the various Dao courts, or sect masters of top-tier sections. Ao Beijiang knew that the reason why the Realm Lord Yin Xingwen had summoned him was definitely because of the huge loss he had caused by invading the Grand Simplicity realm. However, he wasn't too worried. Yin Xingwen was one of his close friends after all, so he definitely wouldn't embarrass him. When Ao Beijiang brought Wuxia into the guest hall of the World Lord Peak, his expression changed slightly. The first person he saw was a Dao integration Sacred Emperor. The reason he noticed this Dao integration Sacred Emperor was because of that sharp killing intent. He knew this Dao integration Sacred Emperor. He was the #1 guardian of the Luoying Dao court, Dao integration Chu Bai. Chu Bai's strength wasn't inferior to Ao Beijiang's. He just didn't like to be in the limelight. Beside Chu Bai, there was a late-stage primordial Dao man. He was also tall and burly and looked somewhat similar to Jess. Brother Beijiang, you're here. Please take a seat. Yin Xingwen, who was sitting at the seat of honor, greeted him politely, giving Ao Beijiang some confidence. There were only a dozen people sitting in the guest hall. Ao Beijiang knew how powerful these dozen people were in the Grand Change Realm. The Dao monarchs of the 5 great Dao courts had all come. Apart from the Dao monarchs of the 5 great Dao courts, the sect masters of the 3 major sects had also come. After Ao Beijiang and Wuxia sat down, besides Yin Xingwen, no one else greeted Ao Beijiang. Yin Xingwen had no choice but to speak again. Brother Beijiang, can you explain what happened this time? Why did the Luoying Dao court mobilize the Dao court army to besiege the Grand Essence realm? The entire army was wiped out, And even Dao Monarch just died in the Grand Essence realm. Although Yin Xingwen and the others knew that the Luoying Dao court army had left the Grand Change realm for the Grand Essence realm, Ao Beijiang still had to explain it clearly. Ao Beijiang cupped his fists and said in a low voice, "This time, the Luoying Dao court army suffered heavy losses, which is related to our carelessness. As for the main reason for mobilizing the Dao court army, it's because the Grand Essence realm's Ningqing took advantage of our Grand Change realm's pill competition to sneak into the underground abyss. He broke the seal and restrictions of the underground abyss, causing the demonic creatures in the underground abyss to erupt." Everyone nodded because Ao Beijiang's words weren't wrong. The underground abyss did erupt after Ningqing disappeared. Even now, the Grand Change realm could barely suppress the demonic creatures in the underground abyss. To completely suppress them, it would require a lot of materials and the efforts of array formation masters. However, no one believed that Ao Beijiang really went to the Grand Change realm to find Ningqing because of this matter. Everyone knew what kind of person Ao Beijiang was. Ao Beijiang continued, "In addition, that Ningqing also took away my Grand Change realm's top-grade treasure, the World Mountain." Ao Beijiang's words were like a deep water bomb thrown out, causing everyone to stare at him in shock. Even Yin Xingwen stared at Ao Beijiang with bright eyes. Everyone here naturally knew what the World Mountain was. Ao Beijiang, on seeing that his words finally had an effect, secretly breathed a sigh of relief. As for the World Mountain, to be honest, he found it on the seal pillar that trapped Back then, he couldn't find Ningqing in the underground abyss, and could only look for the few people who escaped. If he wanted to find he could only look for Er's remnant aura. Didn't leave any aura on the seal pillar, but left a line of words on it. Shallow Cloud Villa, Father's World Mountain. In fact, he later went to the Shallow Cloud Villa, but didn't find the World Mountain. "Are you sure Ningqing took the World Mountain?" Yin Xingwen's tone carried a hint of excitement. If it was the World Mountain, then it would be normal for Ao Beijiang to encourage Jess to join the Dao court army. Facing the World Mountain, no Dao fusion powerhouse could ignore it. Ao Beijiang spoke with certainty. "Yes, it's the World Mountain. Later I met Feng Xian of the Boundless Palace, and Ningqing took away Feng Xian's mountain and river dipper. So we joined forces to snatch it back. I didn't expect Ningqing to know that we were going to the Grand Essence realm. I don't know how he persuaded the many experts in the Grand Essence realm to set up the Grand Essence Dao court army in the Grand Essence realm. He even spent several years arranging the Grand Essence realm's defensive array. Even if Ningqing arranged the Grand Essence realm's defensive array and had the Grand Essence Dao court, it shouldn't be enough to wipe out the Luoying Dao court's millions of troops, right?" The one who spoke was Yunguang Dao court's Lei Shiran. He had always been thinking about Jesse's Tai invisible Dao scroll, the Tai true Dao scripture. Now that Jesse was killed, he naturally felt anxious about the Tai true Dao scripture. Ao Beijiang gnashed his teeth and said, "This person is insidious and cunning." While arranging the Grand Essence realm's defensive array, he also used a Xiantian artifact as the core of the array and arranged a super powerful hidden killing array. He lured us into the array core of the killing array, and then closed the array. Then he mobilized millions of troops to besiege the Luoying Dao court's army. I can't wait to kill my way to the Grand Essence realm and avenge the souls of those who died in the Grand Essence realm. Chu Bai, who sat opposite to Ao Beijiang, stared at Ao Beijiang coldly. "Surnamed Ao, no matter what you say, you won't be able to escape the crime of being the culprit behind the annihilation of my Luoying Dao court's army." After saying that, he cupped his fists towards Yin Xingwen and said, "Realm Lord, if my Luoying Dao court doesn't take Ao Beijiang away, it would be hard to quell the public's anger." Yin Xingwen sighed in his heart. He naturally didn't want Ao Beijiang to be taken away like this. However, he also needed to give Chu Bai an explanation. Therefore he said, "I can fully understand Dao friend Chu's feelings. Now that the Grand Essence realm has destroyed millions of my Grand Essence Dao court's army, the most important thing right now is to unite against the outside world. If we start fighting inside, it would only make our enemies happy." Chu Bai didn't speak anymore. He knew about the relationship between Ao Beijiang and Yin Xingwen. Wanting Yin Xingwen to support him in killing Ao Beijiang was almost impossible. If he wanted to kill Ao Beijiang, he could only do it secretly with his Luying Dao court. After Yin Xingwen comforted Chu Bai, he spoke again. Everyone, the Luying Dao court is one of my Grand Essence Dao court's 5 great Dao courts. But because of the Grand Essence Dao court's army, the Luying Dao court's vitality has been reduced by more than half. Everyone, let's talk about how we should deal with this matter. No one spoke. The 3 major sects and the 5 great Dao courts didn't express their stance. The Luying Dao court wanted to kill their way back to the Grand Essence realm. But after this war, their vitality had suffered too much damage. Cloudlight Dao court's Dao monarch Lei Xiran wanted to go to the Grand Essence realm alone, kill Ningcheng, and take back Ningcheng's Grand Change True Dao scripture. Yin Xingwen frowned slightly and spoke with an unhappy tone. This time, more than half of the Luying Dao court's army was killed. If it was the army of the other Dao courts, what would happen? We all belong to the Grand Change realm, and everyone is just sweeping the snow in front of their doors. Why don't we just abandon the 5 great Dao courts and establish a Grand Change Dao court? Yin Xingwen had the qualifications to say such words. After all, he was the Grand Change realm's #1 expert. Lei Xiran stood up. Realm Lord, my Cloudlight Dao court is willing to send out the army. However, I have 2 conditions. First, Ningcheng has a book that I need. I have to get it back. Second, if we destroy the Grand Essence realm, my Cloudlight Dao court will establish a new Dao court in the Grand Change realm. Yin Xingwen nodded. That's not a problem at all. After saying that, he looked at the other 3 Dao courts and the 3 major sections. As for the Luying Dao court, they had to participate. He didn't even need to ask. Chapter 1151. Yahua Dao Court's Dao Lord Bai Ling said calmly, my Yahua Dao Court isn't interested in this matter. My Yahua Dao Court doesn't want to go over to the Grand Essence realm. Yin Xingwen's expression turned ugly. Bai Ling's words made him a little unhappy. He couldn't do anything about it. The Yahua Dao Court also had a Dao Integration Holy Emperor and an army of tens of millions. It was ranked second among the 5 Dao courts, so he couldn't order Bai Ling to do anything. Besides Bai Ling, the other Dao lords didn't express their stance. They didn't say that they wouldn't go or not go. Yin Xingwen knew that the things in the Grand Essence realm didn't attract these Dao lords. He simply took out a small black jar and placed it in front of him. He said calmly, this time, it's for the reputation of my Grand Change realm, and for the Luying Dao court's revenge. My Grand Change realm has to send out an army. I have some primal chaos chi here. Although it's not much, I'm willing to take some out. Every Dao court that's willing to send out an army can take 5 strands of primal chaos chi from me. Sects that are willing to send out Dao Integration Holy Emperors can also take 5 strands of primal chaos chi. Cloudlight Dao Court is willing to send out an army because I promised Thunder Dao Monarch 2 conditions. Therefore, they can take 2 more strands of primal chaos chi. As for the Luying Dao Court, they don't have to take out anything like me because they suffered heavy losses this time. However, I hope that Dao friend Beijiang can replenish the Luying Dao Court's new Dao monarch Jie Daisui. As the lord of a realm, Yin Xingwen's words were clear. He wouldn't offend anyone, and would save his primal chaos chi as much as possible. Primal chaos chi is precious, but the Luying Dao Court doesn't need it. This time, we sent out an army for you. As for the Cloudlight Dao Court, I promised you 2 things. You can have less primal chaos chi. As for Ao Beijiang, he meant that he had already helped him. Since he had lost millions of Luying Dao Court's army, he had to compensate Jie Daisui. Luying Dao Court Sage Emperor Chu Bai's expression turned ugly. He knew that this army wasn't for revenge, but he couldn't say it directly. Ao Beijiang naturally felt grateful for Yin Xingwen's help and quickly said, I still have a strand of the Outer Realm Mist. If Dao Monarch Jie Daisui doesn't mind, I can give it to you. Ao Beijiang had promised Feng Xian the Outer World Fog Thread, but Feng Xian had not been lucky enough to obtain it. Now, Ao Beijiang had used it as a second favor. Chu Bai's face immediately revealed a hint of eagerness when he heard the words fog threads. The other Dao lords all revealed looks of eagerness as well. Before Jade Sui could say anything, Chu Bai said in a deep voice, I agree. Hand over the outer world mist silk. Ao Beijiang chuckled and took out a jade box. He did not hand the jade box to Chu Bai. Instead, he handed it to Yin Xingwen. Then Yin Xingwen handed the jade box to Chu Bai. Everyone understood this meaning. That is, the glazing Dao court, and I don't owe each other anything. Chu Bai understood Ao Beijiang's meaning, but he didn't take it to heart. The outer world fog silk was what he valued the most. Jade clear Dao court's Dao monarch Yi Qianhua stood up. The Grand Essence realm has gone too far. Since the glazed jewel Dao court's army lost, they shouldn't have killed Dao monarch Jess. No matter what, my jade clear Dao court will not sit idly by and watch this happen. Dao monarch Qianhua is truly one of the pillars of my grand change realm. Yin Xingwen stood up with a face full of joy. At the same time, he raised his hand and wrapped a few strands of primal chaos qi. After forming a restriction with a complicated technique, he handed it over to Yi Qianhua. This restriction can only last for a few days at most. Dao monarch Qianhua, please remember this. Yin Xingwen knew very well that despite Yi Qianhua's beautiful words, he only wanted a few strands of primal chaos qi. Yi Qianhua indeed wanted a few strands of primal chaos qi. This kind of thing couldn't be obtained easily. Now that Yin Xingwen was willing to take it out, why would he hesitate? My Grand Mystery Dao Court, as a member of the Grand Change Realm, is willing to send 1,000,000 Dao Court army. Primal chaos qi is too precious. I don't want it. Grand Mystery Dao Court's Dao monarch Jie Xinshui stood up and spoke. He was just going through the motions symbolically. Sending 1,000,000 Dao Court army meant to give Yin Xingwen face. As for not wanting the primal chaos qi, it was the same. I never intended to attack the Grand Essence realm. 1,000,000 Dao Court army is no different from not sending an army. I don't want any benefits. If Jie Xinshui disappointed Yin Xingwen, then Bai Ling disappointed Yin Xingwen even more. Even when Yin Xingwen took out the primal chaos qi, Bai Ling still closed his eyes and rested. It was as if he didn't hear anything, let alone take the initiative to stand up and say something about sending an army. The sect masters of the Thousand Buddha Sacred Dao sect, the vast Space Dao sect, and the Formless Dao sect had been sitting still and not moving. Even when Yin Xingwen offered 5 strands of primal chaos qi, they didn't move at all. Yin Xingwen sighed in his heart. It wasn't that his primal chaos qi wasn't attractive, but that he took out too little. If he said that everyone was a jar of primal chaos qi, no one would hesitate here. Only he knew in his heart that although he was a realm lord, he wasn't as glorious as the outside world imagined. To mobilize the great Dao Court army, he had to satisfy the interests of others. Maybe he could start a war between the great Dao Court army and the Grand Change realm, but it was impossible to make the great Dao Court army completely obey his orders. In that case, let's settle this matter for the time being. We can discuss the specific time of dispatch later. Yin Xingwen didn't take out any benefits to continue the exchange. The reason why the 3 sects and the Yahua Dao Court weren't interested in the primal chaos qi was most likely because of the World Mountain. If Ningcheng really had the World Mountain, he couldn't take it out to others. He had to get his hands on it. In fact, Yin Xingwen also knew that with the strength he could mobilize now, he could also level the Grand Essence realm. He could mobilize at least 5 Dao Unification Holy Emperors, tens of millions of Dao Court army, and 100 or 200 Dao Fusion powerhouses. If he couldn't level the Grand Essence realm, it would be a joke. It's just that he didn't mobilize the Yahua Dao Court army, which made him a little dissatisfied. Countless people surrounded the Grand Essence ruins public square. These people watched in amazement as the Dao Court army came out of the teleportation array, and then split into 5 huge airships before rushing into the depths of the Grand Essence ruins. These spectating rogue cultivators didn't dare to approach the Dao Court army, and could only watch from afar. This is the newly established Grand Essence Dao Court army. It looks really powerful. Of course it's powerful. Isn't the Grand Change Realm's Dao Court army powerful? They invaded my Grand Essence realm, and ended up annihilated. I heard that every cultivator in the Taisu Dao Court was rewarded with a bunch of cultivation resources. Just the Dao fruits alone were rewarded with 1,000,000 of them. It's a pity that we can't enter the Grand Essence domain and go to the Heaven Essence Sacred City. Otherwise, I would have gone to the Dao Court Army. It's better than risking my life to fight for some cultivation resources in the Grand Essence ruins every day. That's what you think. I don't want to go to the Dao Court Army. In a war with millions of people, dying would be as easy as breathing. Where would it be easy to live? Do you know how many people enter the Grand Essence ruins every day and end up dying? In contrast, the Dao Court Army is much more stable. At this moment, a clear voice interrupted many people's discussions. Dao friends, please listen to me. As the voice fell, a middle-aged scholar appeared in the middle of the Grand Essence ruins public square. Behind this middle-aged scholar, there were several Dao Essence holy emperors. When everyone quieted down, the middle-aged scholar continued. Dao friends, I'm the Pill Association's Deputy Union Master, Bait Saixia. I've come to the Grand Essence Dao Court's 11th Army in the Grand Essence ruins under the orders of the Dao Lord. The number is 5 million. If you're willing to join the Grand Essence Army, you can sign up now. Can we enter the Grand Essence domain at will after joining the Grand Essence domain? Someone asked. Bait Saixia showed a slight smile and said with a clear voice, of course. If you join the Grand Essence Dao Court Army, you can enter and exit the Grand Essence domain at any time. Ningcheng didn't tell anyone about abolishing the restrictions on entry and exit from the Grand Essence ruins and the Grand Essence domain. Even if Bait Saixia received Ningcheng's order to gather the new Dao Court Army, she didn't know about it. This matter involved the interests of the major sects in the Grand Essence domain. Therefore, Ningcheng couldn't speak about it casually without getting the support of many people. The main reason why the Grand Essence domain restricted people from entering the Grand Essence ruins was because of limited resources. After hearing Bait Saixia's promise, most of the cultivators expressed their willingness to join the Grand Essence Dao Court Army. Not to mention the cultivation resources of the Dao Court Army. Just the fact that they could enter the Grand Essence domain made them feel like joining the Dao Court Army. In just a short time, tens of thousands of people signed up. Outside the Grand Essence ruins burial shadow blue sand, 5 huge airships lined up. Flaming Feather Spirit Mountains Sect Master Peng Qiyuan, Sunken Fish Palaces Palace Master Luan, Heavenly Array Valleys Sha Su, 7-Star Sacred Shrines Deputy Sect Master Mu Yuan, and Empty Desolate Spirit Palaces Sect Master Xiao Luojin walked out and greeted Ningcheng with cupped fists. Ningcheng already knew about what happened in the Heaven Essence Sacred City. If the Grand Essence Dao Court Army invaded the Grand Essence realm a second time, he would have to solve the internal problems first. Fei Feng, without Dai Fu's support, wouldn't have dared to be the first to stand up and refuse the Dao Lord order. But why did Dai Fu have such confidence? Shi Yiqing supported Ningcheng, but that was in the case of external enemies. If Ningcheng's foundation was too deep, or even if he truly took the position of Dao Lord Grand Essence, it wouldn't bring much benefit to her 9 revolutions sacred Dao Pond. Everyone in the Grand Essence domain knew that more than 70% of the cultivation resources in the Grand Essence domain, such as mystic realms, medicinal mountains, mineral veins, all of these were concentrated in the major sects, especially the 3 sacred sections. Once Ningcheng took the position of Dao Lord, he would have to adjust these cultivation resources. If Mu Yuankong wasn't the deputy sect master but the sect master, maybe he wouldn't have appeared here. Thank you for bringing the army here. I already know what happened in the Heaven Essence Sacred City. No matter what the result is, the 5 of you will always be my friends. Ningcheng cupped his fists and thanked them. The 5 understood the meaning behind Ningcheng's words. Ningcheng definitely wanted to take action against the Grand Essence Dao Court Army. However, they didn't know what cards Ningcheng had in his hand to dare think so. Chapter 1152. Desolate Spirit Palaces. Sect Master Xiao Luojin admired Ningcheng's magnanimity and courage. However, he didn't want the Grand Essence realm to fall into internal strife. Seeing this, he quickly said, Dao Lord mobilized 5 million Dao Court troops to the burial shadow blue sand. May I know why? Ningcheng pointed to the burial shadow blue sand. This is one of the 5 forbidden areas of the Grand Essence ruins. Countless Grand Essence cultivators have fallen in search of treasures. My friend Qi Shixingsing also fell in here. Qi Shixingsing? Is he the son of Profound Moon Spirit Gate's old sect master, Qi Zhonggui? Trapped in the Grand Essence mystic realm for tens of thousands of years, and later rescued by Dao Lord? Peng Qiyuan asked in doubt. Ning Qing nodded. Yes, it's him. So I have an idea. That is to raise the burial shadow blue sand, and make it disappear from the Grand Essence ruins. My strength alone is limited, so I asked the Grand Essence Dao Court's army to help me. Ning Cheng's words spread out with Spirit Essence Dao charm. Therefore, the 5 million cultivators in the periphery of the burial shadow blue sand could hear it clearly. After hearing this sentence, the 5 million people cheered almost at the same time, willing to help Dao Lord. No one was unwilling. The burial shadow blue sand contained many treasures. As long as one wasn't stupid, they would know about it. Although Ning Cheng was a Dao Lord, he was a generous person and not stingy. As long as they found something good in the burial shadow blue sand, they would be rewarded. In fact, with the arrival of these 5 million people, including a million array formation masters, Ning Qing knew that the burial shadow blue sand had become a thing of the past. It was like a huge pond, and no one knew what was in the pond. If the water in the pond was drained, perhaps everyone would know what was in the pond. Palace Master Luan hesitated for a moment before speaking up. Dao Lord Ning, I'm afraid that won't work. The burial shadow blue sand forms a fan shape, and the back half can't be entered. Even if we have many array formation experts, we can't surround it. It's fine. I'll just devour it bit by bit. The Grand Essence realm is huge, and I can arrange a defensive array. The burial shadow blue sand isn't even a small village in the Grand Essence realm. I don't believe that the array formation can't devour it. Ning Qing stared at the flowing blue sand in front of him, and spoke slowly. He had already steeled his heart to make the burial shadow blue sand disappear from the Grand Essence ruins. He also understood Princess Luan's meaning. He couldn't encircle the burial shadow blue sand. The edges were chaotic and blurry, and anyone who approached it would feel like they were being torn apart. In this place, Sha Su was second only to Ning Cheng as an array formation master. Only he had witnessed the strength of Ning Cheng's Tao of array formations. He also believed that Ning Cheng had the opportunity to achieve this. Using the devouring array formation, he could compress the burial shadow blue sand to almost nothing. After Ning Cheng finished speaking, he immediately spoke up. Dao Monarch, we have a million array formation masters. Under your control, I also believe that we can use the devouring array to devour the burial shadow blue sand. Ning Cheng also understood the worries of the several sect masters. Although it was dangerous for ordinary Dao Essence powerhouses to enter the burial shadow blue sand, they had a high chance of survival. As for primordial chaos experts, their chances of survival were even higher. However, there were many sacred emperors in the Dao court army who had yet to attain Dao validation. Some of them were only at the first step of Dao validation. Once these people entered the burial shadow blue sand, they would die without a doubt. He took out a ring and handed it to Sha Su before saying, Court Pillar Sha, you will lead a million Dao court array formation masters to follow behind me. I will set up the main array in front. Every time I place an array flag, I will need millions of auxiliary array flags to support the array. You must help me suppress these auxiliary array flags in time. There are some important array flags in this ring, and there are still not enough array flags. I will need everyone to refine them at any time. The refining materials are also in the ring. You can distribute them later. Sha Su took the ring and said loudly, Dao Monarch, don't worry. I will definitely set up the array flags as soon as possible to suppress the array. Ning Cheng was very confident in Sha Su's ability. He was an absolute array Dao expert. Recently, following behind him, his array Dao level had risen rapidly. Therefore, he did not have to worry about Sha Su holding him back. Court Pillar Xiao and Court Pillar Mu. Your 2 million Dao court army soldiers will stimulate the Dao rune power to help the devouring array compress it. At the same time, you have to guard against the million array formation masters. You don't have to worry about any attack from the array formation masters. You have to destroy them immediately. This time, my devouring array will only advance from the outside to the inside. There won't be any special danger. Finally, Ningqing looked at Palace Master Luan and Peng Yuankong. Because I have to be at the forefront to set up the devouring array, I need the 2 court pillars to lead the 2 million Dao court army soldiers to follow me. They will help me suppress the nomological power of the buried shadow blue sand and prevent the buried shadow blue sand from mutating. Ningqing's arrangements were flawless. No matter how strong the stone tablet in the buried shadow blue sand was, it could not be stronger than the 2 million Dao court army soldiers and the 2 late-stage primordial chaos experts. The Grand Essence Dao court army had not been established for a long time, but it had experienced a war and was no longer the same as it had been when it was first established. As Ningqing threw down the first array flag, the 5 million people had already lined up. In just a short time, the flowing blue sand in the periphery disappeared. It was devoured by the Dao court army's array flags led by Ningqing and compressed at the same time. As Ningqing threw down the array flags, the periphery of the buried shadow blue sand kept shrinking. Millions of Dao court army soldiers began to slowly advance. The buried shadow blue sand seemed to know that someone was going to use an array formation to devour this place. The flow of the blue sand inside roared even more. The tumbling blue sea of sand almost made it impossible for people's spiritual senses to penetrate it. However, under Ningqing's array formation, the people outside the buried shadow blue sand could always use their spiritual senses to observe the positions where they needed to set up the array flags. The endless buried shadow fiends seemed to know that doomsday had arrived and kept flocking out. However, Ningqing's devouring array was too strong under the joint efforts of millions of array formation masters. When these buried shadow fiends rushed out, the people outside did not even need to do anything before they were directly killed. Ningqing's method could be said to be the stupidest method, but it was also the most practical and effective method. If an expert came here, they would most likely directly grab the gray stone tablet from inside. Since there were no experts here, Ningqing could only use this simple and effective method. A month later, the blue sand in the periphery of the buried shadow blue sand had disappeared. The place that originally belonged to the buried shadow blue sand now only had dry and cracked ground. Occasionally, one could see some crisscrossing ravines and some fragments of Dharma treasures that had not been completely corroded. The buried shadow blue sand that had not been devoured looked even more miserable and terrifying. Bursts of sharp whistling sounds came out, as if a horrifying power was brewing within it. After 3 months, the tens of millions of miles of buried shadow blue sand had disappeared. The buried shadow blue sand that once looked like a tumbling blue sea now looked like a roaring blue line. Ningqing, who had arranged the devouring array, also felt the pressure. It seemed that if he was not careful, the buried shadow blue sand that he had devoured would suddenly explode, turning all his previous efforts into nothingness. Dao Lord, I feel the pressure increasing. This buried shadow blue sand seems a bit unusual. Peng Qiyuan, who had been standing beside Ningqing, spoke with a solemn tone. Not only Peng Qiyuan, but Ningqing also felt that something was wrong. He had chosen the right method. It was just that he had underestimated the terrifying power of the buried shadow blue sand. Perhaps once this power erupted, it would be very difficult to block it. At this moment, the buried shadow blue sand was like a balloon. It was constantly compressing the balloon, making the violent aura inside the balloon grow more and more intense. Just as Ningqing was thinking about using another array formation to seal the raging blue sands within the burial shadow blue sand to another place, he suddenly heard a hoarse grinding sound. What kind of enmity do I have with you, for you to be so vicious? When you wrapped my friend in the buried shadow blue sand, I said that if you didn't let him go, I would make the buried shadow blue sand disappear completely from the Grand Essence ruins. Ningqing spoke with a cold voice. The grinding voice remained silent for a moment before slowing down. It was my fault last time. I underestimated your strength. You have the qualifications to say that. Your friend in the buried shadow blue sand has nothing to do with me. If I could do anything to him, I would have already found a way to turn him into a buried shadow demon. The reason why he stayed in the buried shadow blue sand and kept running was because he fell in love with a woman. This woman kept running around in the buried shadow blue sand, and he kept chasing after her. Ningqing frowned. Is this woman a buried shadow demon? Or is she a captive buried shadow demon? I think no matter which one it is, it has something to do with you, right? The grinding voice snorted and spoke after a few breaths. Not everyone in the buried shadow blue sand has something to do with me, and not all of them are under my control. I occupy the buried shadow blue sand, and I only want the freshest essence blood and the freshest essence soul. The buried shadow blue sand doesn't belong to me alone, and that woman also likes it here. She probably suffered a mental shock and kept running in the buried shadow blue sand. That friend of yours can also stay in the burial shadow blue sand unscathed, because he inherited a top-notch divine ability. Ningqing sneered. It has nothing to do with you. Last time, when I wanted to find my friend, would you stop me? Moreover, the endless blue sand around him. Didn't you do it? The grinding voice remained silent for a while. I admit that I have some thoughts about him, but his inheritance makes it so that I can't hurt him for the time being. That's why I used the quicksand in the buried shadow blue sand to slowly lose his consciousness. I wanted to turn him into my right-hand man. If you retreat now, I definitely won't do anything to him again. Ningqing raised his hand and threw out a few array flags, causing the devouring array to move forward once again. The grinding voice angrily shouted, Do you think I'm afraid of you? If I detonate the buried shadow blue sand, then no one would be able to survive. Then detonate it. Ningqing spoke up without any hurry. He believed that with this gray stone steel's ruthlessness, if it could detonate it, it would have already done so. What do you want? The grinding voice suddenly lost its temper. Ningqing spoke up in a calm voice. Send my friend out, and then I'll take him away. Oh right, send the woman he likes out as well. That's impossible. I can't do anything to that woman. I promise that I won't do anything to your friend. And I won't let the buried shadow quicksand continue to wear down his will. The grinding voice spoke up in a helpless voice. Chapter 1153. Saying that, without waiting for Ningqing to answer, a gray stone steel suddenly descended from the burial shadow blue sand, revealing a clear passage in front of Ningqing. Ningqing saw Qi Shixingsing running at the end of the passage created by the gray steel, but Ningqing didn't see any woman. Ningqing raised his hand, and strands of Dao charm power transformed into a law thread that wrapped around Qi Shixingsing, who was running away. Qi Shixingsing paused for a moment, but before he could release any lightning arcs, Ningqing brought him to his side. Qi Shixingsing looked at Ningqing with some confusion, seemingly trying to recall what had just happened. Ningqing raised his hand and threw a few medicinal pills into Qi Shixingsing's mouth before patting Qi Shixingsing's glabella. Ah! Qi Shixingsing's eyes finally recovered a bit of sobriety. He then asked in surprise, Ningqing, why are you here? What's wrong with you? Like a headless fly running around the burial shadow blue sand? Ningqing immediately asked. Qi Shixingsing frowned and lowered his head. After thinking for a while, he suddenly looked up and said, Yes, I saw Yuqian. After saying that, Qi Shixingsing finally understood what was going on. He was just about to say something when he looked up and saw the dense crowd of cultivators behind Ningqing. This is... Qi Shixingsing looked at the Grand Essence Dao Court army behind Ningqing in amazement, and asked in surprise. Ningqing patted Qi Shixingsing on the shoulder. The Grand Essence realm established a Dao Court, and they are the Grand Essence Dao Court's army. This time, the Taisu Dao Court's army is here to completely seal off the blue sand burial shadows. There are some things I'll tell you later when we get back. Qi Shixingsing didn't seem to care about what Ningqing wanted to say to him. Instead, he quickly sent a sound transmission to Ningqing. Ningqing, I obtained the inheritance of the Grand Essence Spirit Thunder. Just like your 7 Bridges Spirit technique, I need the Grand Essence Spirit Thunder bead. Otherwise, I would have passed it all to you. Ningqing showed a smile. I have enough spirit techniques. You don't have to worry about me. Leave this place with me now. We can talk about other things later. Qi Shixingsing's face showed a trace of sadness. Ningqing, I'm sorry. I can't go with you now. I'm not strong enough to take revenge, so there's no use in going back. I must find Yuqian and take her with me. There seems to be something wrong with Yuqian's mind. She's been running around like crazy. I can't just leave her here. Ningcheng sighed. 13. Did you know that when I found you, you also had some mental problems? You were almost lost and became a buried shadow fiend in the buried shadow blue sand. To Ningcheng's surprise, Qi Shixingsing nodded and sent a voice transmission to Ningcheng. Actually, I knew it would be like this. My grand essence spirit Thunderbeat has always been guarding my mind. I would never get lost. I put all my effort into chasing after Yuqian. Don't worry about me. I'll be more careful this time. Also, I want to tell you something. The buried shadow blue sand is actually not a place, but it's a weapon, and this weapon's artifact spirit is the gray stone steel, right? Ningcheng didn't wait for Qi Shixingsing to finish and spoke up. Qi Shixingsing nodded and asked in confusion. How do you know? When Ningcheng heard Qi Shixingsing's words, he knew that his guess was correct. He was even more shocked in his heart. The burial shadow blue sand was a Dharma treasure. How terrifying was this Dharma treasure? But how did Qi Shixingsing know about it? Qi Shixingsing didn't wait for Ningcheng to answer and continued. That gray stone steel isn't the real artifact spirit. The real artifact spirit of the burial shadow blue sand seems to have been killed. A new life has taken over this gray stone steel. This thing wants to replace the previous artifact spirit and become the new artifact spirit. But until now, it hasn't completely succeeded. You can rest assured that the Grand Essence Spirit Thunder is the nemesis of that gray stone steel. It can't do anything to me. I will be more careful in the future. I'm very worried about Yuqian. I have to go in and find her. I'll leave first and come back to you soon. After saying that, Qi Shixingsing didn't want to say anything else. He directly rushed into the burial shadow blue sand and quickly disappeared. He didn't ask Ningcheng how he got together with the Grand Essence Dao Court's army, nor did he ask why the Grand Essence Dao Court's army sealed the burial shadow blue sand. From this, one could tell how important Yuqian was to him, and how difficult it was to part with her. The gray stone steel still stood not far from Ningcheng. Ningcheng didn't continue to chase after Qi Shixingsing. Instead, he spoke with a deep voice. I can stop attacking this place, but you have to compensate my Grand Essence Dao Court's army for the losses. 20 top-grade spirit veins, 10,000 high-grade spirit veins, 10 billion spirit crystals, 50,000 Dao fruits of all kinds, 100,000 divine grasses of all kinds. Ningcheng had asked for a lot of things, but he knew that it was impossible to get all of them. Since the burial shadow blue sand was a weapon, he had to reconsider how to deal with the burial shadow blue sand. What's more, Qi Shixingsing had already entered the burial shadow blue sand. Once he forced the gray stone steel to make a desperate move, it wouldn't bring him any benefits. Even Shixingsing, who was inside, would be affected. In the future, when his cultivation grew stronger, he might be able to take away this weapon. Even if he didn't use it, this weapon's suppression array would definitely be a super powerful one. You asked for too much. I can only give you a small half of everything. The gray stone steel's hoarse voice sounded out again. Ningcheng immediately understood that his price wasn't too outrageous. Since the gray stone steel only said a small half, it meant that the wealth of the burial shadow blue sand was far beyond his understanding. Initially, he thought that the gray stone steel would only say 1% at most. But now that it said a small half, it showed that the price he asked for was a bit too much. Alas, he had never seen the world before. Sorry, I won't leave without a single crystal stone. Ningcheng spoke with an even firmer tone. This gray stone steel truly wanted to be an artifact spirit. However, this fellow's intelligence only hovered around the level of an artifact spirit. After Ningcheng said those words in an affirmative tone, the gray stone steel fell silent. After a while it said, I agree. Once I give you the things, you have to leave now. Ningcheng smiled. Of course. Once you give me the things, you have to make an oath. That is, you won't do anything to Yuqian and my friend Qi Shixingsing. Otherwise, I would have come again. Remember when I burned a trace of your soul last time? Next time, my means will be even more terrifying. The gray stone steel subconsciously shuddered before grinding its teeth in a hoarse voice. I swear that if the Grand Essence Dao Quartz Army retreats and I still have thoughts about Yuqian and Qi Shizingsing, my 3 spiritual and 6 physical souls will never be complete. Ningcheng secretly despised it in his heart. You're an artifact spirit. What does it matter if your 3 spiritual and 6 physical souls are incomplete? Moreover, you're not a human to begin with. Making such an oath is the same as not making it. You can't make this oath. You have to do it this way. You are now a parasite in the gray stone steel of the burial shadow blue sand. If you have any bad thoughts about Qi Shizingsing and Yuqian, the divine thunder will turn you into nothingness. Hearing Ningcheng's vicious words, the gray stone steel felt hatred in its heart. It originally wanted to be an artifact spirit. Now that it made this oath, it had to abide by it. If it didn't abide by it, it would turn into ashes. Only if its strength surpassed the heavenly Tao would it be able to ignore its oath to the heavenly Tao. Looking at the large number of array flags in Ningcheng's hand, the gray stone steel felt helpless. It could only follow Ningcheng's instructions and make the oath again. Then, it threw a ring to Ningcheng and couldn't wait to disappear into the burial shadow blue sand. Ningcheng took the ring and checked it. Everything he wanted was there, which made him feel very satisfied. The Grand Essence Realms Dao Quartz Army, under the leadership of Tao Lord Ningcheng, went to the burial shadow blue sand of the Grand Essence ruins and returned to the Heaven Essence Sacred City. Everyone knew about this matter in a short time. After this incident, several things happened in the Grand Essence domain. The most serious one was that the Dao Quartz Army under Fei Feng showed signs of loosening up. Some people even started to cause trouble and got killed. The main reason was Ningcheng's Tao Lord transfer order to the Grand Essence Realms Army. All the cultivators of the Dao Quartz Army who obeyed Tao Lord's order to go to the Grand Essence ruins received a lot of rewards. Those who didn't go naturally didn't receive any rewards. River Luo Sacred Sect's Sect Master Wang Huazhong and Silver Dragon Clan's Patriarch Gong Wu didn't have time to express their stance. Therefore, even if the Dao Quartz Army wanted to blame someone, it wouldn't be the 2 of them. However, Fei Feng clearly put forward an objection to the army. Not only did he openly refute Tao Lord's order, but he also made it so that all the cultivators of the Dao Quartz Army didn't receive any benefits. When did Tao Lord Ningcheng do anything wrong? When the Grand Change Realms Dao Quartz Army invaded the Grand Essence Realm, under Tao Lord Ningcheng's leadership, which cultivator of the Dao Quartz Army didn't receive a lot of rewards. But now, they weren't fighting with other Dao Quartz Army. They were just responding to Tao Lord's order to go to the Grand Essence ruins. Fei Feng even stopped this. Apparently, he didn't want everyone to make a fortune. As for Dai Fu's Dao Quartz Army, because of the strength of the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond, she had almost complete control over the Dao Quartz Army. Therefore, no one dared to express their dissatisfaction. Li Feng was the first court pillar, and everyone knew that he was Tao Lord's strongest supporter. Therefore, it was normal for the Dao Quartz Army under his command not to go to the Grand Essence ruins. Only the Dao Quartz Army under Fei Feng's command grew more and more noisy. Fei Feng couldn't even suppress it. In fact, everyone knew what was going on. Fei Feng's position as the sect master of the Profound Moon Spirit Gate wasn't righteous. Many of the Profound Moon Spirit Gate's experts he brought to lead the Dao Quartz Army were loyal to Qi Zhonggui. Now that someone in the Dao Court Army was against Fei Feng, these leaders who were loyal to Qi Zhonggui naturally turned a blind eye to it. In addition to this, Ningcheng, as the Dao Lord of the Grand Essence Realm, had privately summoned the 11th Army and the Guardian Army to the Grand Essence ruins. What did this mean? No matter what it meant, these 2 things had to be resolved in advance. As Dao Lord Ningcheng of the Grand Essence Dao Court returned to the Heaven Essence Sacred City, all the experts of the Grand Essence Dao Court gathered. Even if some sects didn't come, Ningcheng took the initiative to invite them to the Heaven Essence Sacred City's Dao Court to discuss important matters. Chapter 1154. In the Dao Court's throne room, the 10 court pillars and the sect masters of the major sects in Heaven Essence Sacred City were all present. These sects were the main component of the Grand Essence Dao Court's army. Apart from them, there were many rogue cultivators. Dao Unification Holy Emperors. Apart from Kong Xiushan, no one else came. Kong Xiushan seemed to be very enthusiastic about the Dao Court's affairs. Every time Ning Cheng held a big meeting in the throne room, he would inevitably attend. Ning Cheng glanced at the people in the throne room. He knew that as his Dao Lord status became more and more stable, these sect masters who originally worked with him would feel more and more uneasy. Court pillars, sect masters, Dao friends, because my Grand Essence Dao Court is different from the Grand Change realm. Under normal circumstances, we do things through consultation. Except for the last time when I had an urgent matter, so I issued a Dao Lord order. I also thank the Dao Court's army for not forgetting me and bringing troops to the Grand Essence ruins to help me. Why was I, Tai Su, able to defeat the Dao Court army that invaded Tai Yi? I believe everyone knows. Because of unity. Because our Grand Essence Dao Court is united, we can defeat the strong and win. As Ning Cheng's words reached this point, many people disagreed with him in their hearts. Because of unity, the weak defeated the strong. I'm afraid not. The reason why the Grand Essence realm could defeat the Grand Change Dao Court's army was because of Ning Cheng's hidden killing array. To be honest, it had nothing to do with the weak defeating the strong. Ning Cheng's face sank, and his tone became a lot more severe. But I found that our Grand Essence Dao Court's army didn't realize the impending crisis. Instead, they started to fight among themselves. I heard that several Dao Court soldiers were executed. Our Dao Court's army didn't die on the battlefield, but died in the hands of their own people. It's really chilling. Every Dao Court soldier is our treasure. If we execute them at will, how can our Grand Essence Dao Court's army still have any unity? A man surrounded by water Qi Dao charm suddenly walked out from the side and bowed. Dao Lord, Gongwu has something to report. Everyone looked at Gongwu in shock, the patriarch of the Silver Dragon clan. This kind of action and words completely treated Ning Cheng as a Dao Lord, without the slightest bit of arrogance. One had to know that although Ning Cheng was a Dao Lord, most of the court pillars only cupped their fists when speaking. This was also a major feature of the Grand Essence Dao Court. Now that Gongwu bowed and greeted Ning Cheng as Dao Monarch, wouldn't it mean that she had truly acknowledged Ning Cheng's identity as Dao Monarch? But after thinking about it for a while, everyone understood. The words that Ning Cheng had spoken before obviously meant that he wanted to settle the accounts after the fall. The people who were executed for causing trouble were all from Fei Feng's Fourth Court army. Fei Feng was the one who opposed sending out troops in response to Dao Monarch Ning Cheng's order. Previously, because of Gongwu's hesitation, he didn't get the chance to send out troops. But this time he was the first to stand up and respond to Ning Cheng's order. Ning Cheng nodded and spoke in a calm voice. Palace Pillar, if you have something to say, then please speak. Gongwu took out a jade slip and said in a clear voice, in the past month, 16 soldiers of the Fourth Dao Court have been executed due to minor incidents of grumbling. Not only did this not stop the complaints, the number of Dao Court soldiers who were complaining also increased. Many Dao Court soldiers started to retreat from the Dao Court army, and this even affected the rest of the Dao Court army. I think that if this continues, the Taisu Dao Court will collapse without a fight. With that, Gongwu directly handed over the jade strip to Ning Cheng. Gongwu claimed to be a court official and directly targeted Fei Feng. Just as Ning Cheng was about to settle the accounts, Fei Feng's face turned as black as a pot. Now that Gongwu was throwing stones at Ning Cheng while he was down, his face turned as black as a pot. After Ning Cheng looked at the jade slip, he looked at Li Feng calmly and asked, Court Pillar Li, is this true? Li Feng stepped forward and bowed. Dao Monarch, I have investigated this matter, and it is completely true. Li Feng also bowed to Ning Cheng with a true Dao Monarch's etiquette. Clearly, he wanted to support Ning Cheng to become a true Dao Monarch, and not continue to be a middleman. Fei Feng walked out politely, cupped his fists and said, Dao Monarch Ning, although this matter is true, those dozen people in the Dao Court army misled the masses. In order to stabilize the Dao Court army, I killed one to warn the others. Ning Cheng said calmly, Sect Master Fei, the Fourth Dao Court army is under your command, and it does not belong to you personally. Just like how I control the Dao Court, The Dao court is also not my personal possession. I have something that I need to discuss with everyone. But Sect Master Fei, not only did you not discuss such a big matter, you even used capital punishment on your own. If this continues, the Taisu Dao court's army won't even need to be pulled out. They will automatically collapse. Fei Feng's face turned ugly. He looked at Dai Fu, only to find that Dai Fu, who had encouraged him before, did not seem to have any intention of saying a word. He immediately felt disappointed. Helplessly, Fei Feng said, "In that case, I will hand the 4th Dao Court army over to Deputy Sect Master." Ning Cheng waved his hand. "It is not up to you to decide who to hand over the Dao Court army. Fei Feng, you disregarded the laws of the Taisu Dao Court army, and as a court pillar, you still do what you want. Now you are stripped of your court pillar position, and the 4th Dao Court army will be replaced by Zhu Fenghen. Zhu Fenghen will be one of the 10 court pillars ranked 10th. Zhu Fenghen quickly stood up, bowed, and kept the court pillar seal. Fei Feng snorted coldly, turned around and left. Ning Cheng said calmly, "Sect Master Fei, you can't leave yet. The Taisu Dao Court wants to imprison you for a period of time. You can only leave after the matter is resolved." Fei Feng's face changed drastically, and he stared at Ning Cheng and said sternly, "Association Master Ning Cheng, you are abusing your position to take revenge." Ning Cheng did not even bother to speak. Zhu Fenghen had already stepped forward, and several Dao runes wrapped around Fei Feng. Fei Feng's hand moved slightly, and he was about to take out his magic treasure to resist. But when he saw the array flags in Ning Cheng's hand, his heart turned cold. He knew that if he resisted, he might really be killed on the spot. He had already seen Ning Cheng's means. Even the Dao monarch of the Tai Glowing Pearl Dao Court could not escape from Ning Cheng. How could he, Fei Feng, escape from Zhu Fenghen, who was much stronger than him, and Ning Cheng's trap array? In that moment of hesitation, Zhu Fenghen had already locked Fei Feng. Fei Feng saw that he had lost the upper hand, so he sighed and did not continue. Dai Fu frowned slightly. She did not expect Ning Cheng to not only strip Fei Feng of all his Dao court positions, but also lock him up. Dai Fu could no longer sit still, and stood up. "Dao Lord Ning, I feel that this is not right. Fei Feng is a court pillar. Even if he killed a few low-level soldiers, it shouldn't be enough to lock him up, right?" Ning Cheng nodded. "Then Sect Master's words make sense. My Taisu Dao Court naturally has to listen to everyone's opinions." After saying that, Ning Cheng looked at the other Sect Masters and court pillars in the throne room and asked, "Who else has the same opinion as that Sect Master? Please speak up." Dai Fu's heart also turned cold. Ning Cheng's means were too powerful. Just now he did not address Fei Feng as court pillar, but as Sect Master Fei. In the blink of an eye, Sect Master Fei was locked up. Now that he called her Sect Master, she could not help but feel a chill in her heart. The 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond did have a Dao Integration Sage, but that Dao Integration Sage was not here. Even if he was here, there was still Kong Xiushan. Taking a step back, even if Kong Xiushan did not make a move, Ning Cheng had killed a Dao Integration Sage Emperor in the past. Moreover, he had killed Man Suotian, who was stronger than the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond. Now that Ning Cheng's strength had increased, and he had more helpers, even if Dao Ancestor Shiiqing came, it would be difficult to reverse the situation. The more Dai Fu thought about it, the more frightened she became. Unknowingly, Ning Cheng had become so powerful. No one stood up to speak up for Dai Fu. Everyone was not blind. It was an ironclad fact that Ning Cheng had obtained the position of a true Dao monarch. In the face of such a fact, who would stand up and oppose it without a brain? Sect Master, since you are the only one with this opinion, you need to keep your opinion to yourself. Court Pillar Ju, take Fei Feng away. Our throne room meeting will continue. With Ning Cheng's words, Zhu Fenghen grabbed Fei Feng and disappeared without hesitation. In the blink of an eye, Ning Cheng took over the Dao court army in a domineering manner, and even took away a court pillar. The atmosphere in the throne room turned a little strange, and it became even more solemn. Ning Cheng continued, "I'm afraid that the Grand Change Realm will not let this go. I suggest establishing the 11th Court Army. I have already discussed this matter with several court pillars." Now that everyone is here, I would like to ask for everyone's opinion. It would be strange if anyone had an opinion. Your Dao court army has already been established, so who would have an opinion? Fei Feng, who had an opinion before, did not know when he would see the light of day again. Everyone stood up one after another, expressing that they had no opinion. Ning Cheng also stood up and thanked everyone with cupped fists before continuing. Our Grand Essence Realm's resources are too lacking, and there are too many restrictions on entry and exit from the Grand Essence Ruins and the Grand Essence Domain. I suggest that we remove these access restrictions and completely integrate the Grand Essence Realm into one. This time, no one stood up to express their opinion. Everyone here was the sect masters of the major sects in the Grand Essence Domain. All of their interests lay in the Grand Essence Domain. If a large number of people from the Grand Essence Ruins poured in, it would directly damage their interests. Ning Cheng would not compromise on this matter. If he wanted to keep the Grand Essence Realm, he had to take control of the Grand Essence Dao Court Army. Don't look at how the Grand Essence Dao Court Army treated him as the leader right now. But in fact, that was only if there was no conflict of interest. Once there was a conflict of interest, it wouldn't be so one-sided. Moreover, the Grand Essence Dao Court Army was dominated by the major sects in the Grand Essence Domain. In case he had a conflict of interest with the major sects, the Grand Essence Dao Court Army would not stand on his side. Now he opened the Grand Essence Domain to allow the power of the Grand Essence Ruins to integrate. Rather than letting such conflicts arise in the future, it was better to start them early. Leaving Phoenix agrees to open the Grand Essence Domain and remove the restrictions on the Grand Essence Ruins from entering the Grand Essence Domain. Ancient fairy clans leaving Phoenix stood up to support Ning Cheng. The second one to stand up was Sha Su. He walked to the middle of the throne room and bowed to Ning Cheng. Then he cupped his fists and said, "Dao friends, Dao Monarch is wholeheartedly working for our Grand Essence Realm. He's even willing to take out the Seven Bridges Realm Book and Shiyang. The reason why everyone has such scruples is that they are worried about the impact on our cultivation resources. But once the Grand Essence Realm is restored, the Grand Essence Ruins will no longer be a place lacking in resources. On the contrary, we can even go to the Grand Essence Ruins to cultivate. Therefore, I support Dao Monarch opening the Grand Essence Domain to enhance the strength of our Grand Essence Realm." Chapter 1155. On behalf of the Silver Dragon Clan, I support the Daolord's decision. Gongwu stood up again and spoke. He was the first person to publicly acknowledge Ning Cheng's identity as a Dao monarch and speak as a subject. Now that she stood up to support Ning Cheng's decision to open it to the outside world, it made everyone understand that Gongwu was ready to completely side with Ning Cheng. Immediately afterwards, Palace Master Luan and Mu Yuankong also stood up and supported Ning Cheng's decision. Heaven Array Valley was promoted by Ning Cheng and did not have many resources. Therefore, it was normal for them to support Ning Cheng's decision. As for the Sunken Fish Palace, Silver Dragon Clan, Mysterious Fairy Ancient Clan and other sects, they were all from the Grand Essence Sea. Moreover, their main interests lay in the Grand Essence Sea. As for Mu Yuankong, he was a deputy sect master. In fact, he was also promoted by Ning Cheng. Naturally, he would side with Ning Cheng. After taking away Fei Feng, Zhu Fenghen, who had just been promoted to a court pillar, did not hesitate to stand up and support Ning Cheng's decision. Among the 10 Dao court pillars, 6 of them already supported Ning Cheng. Even if the other 4 court pillars didn't support him, Ning Cheng could still force his decision through. Peng Qiyuan stood up and said, "My Flaming Feather God Mountain supports Dao Monarch's decision." Immediately after Peng Qiyuan, Void Star Sect's Kong Xiushan also stood up and said, "I, Kong Xiushan, support this decision. Only by opening the Grand Essence Domain can we enhance the strength of the Grand Essence Realm." Although Kong Xiushan was not one of the 10 court pillars, he was one of the Dao perfection powerhouses of the Grand Essence Realm. Although he helped Ning Cheng in every way possible, it was also because he wanted to repair the cracks between them. As a Dao integration expert, he had already seen that Ning Cheng was not an ordinary person. A primordial Dao Divine Emperor was able to kill a Dao integration cultivator. It would be strange if it was simple. Wang Huazhong sighed and stood up to agree. He really didn't expect that the temporary promotion of Ning Cheng to become a Dao Lord would turn out to be true. Ning Cheng's status as a Dao Lord was becoming more and more stable. Once the Grand Essence domain opened to the Grand Essence ruins, Ning City's status would become even more stable. At this time, openly offending Ning Cheng was not a wise move. The Desolate God Palace's sect master Xiao Luojin was also very helpless, and could only stand out and agree. 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pon's Dai Fu looked like she had swallowed a fly. In the end, she had no choice but to stand up and agree. The 10 court pillars all agreed, and no one from the other sects was willing to object. Ning Cheng's proposal to open up the Grand Essence domain was quickly passed by the court. With the opening of the Grand Essence domain, many rogue cultivators from the Grand Essence ruins poured into the Grand Essence domain. Because of the Grand Essence Dao Court's control, the entire Grand Essence domain didn't go out of control as everyone expected. The cultivators who entered the Grand Essence domain, in addition to joining the Dao Court army, also increased the competition within the Grand Essence domain. For a time, the entire Grand Essence realm became more and more positive, and Dao Lord Ning Cheng's position became more and more stable. Of the 20 million Dao Court army, 10 million were cultivators from the Grand Essence ruins. Now that the Grand Essence Dao Court had completely stabilized, Ning Cheng wanted to go to the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond, but he really didn't dare to go. Dai Fu from the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond clearly didn't want him to become the real Dao Lord Tai Su. It would be best if he, Ning Cheng, could always live behind the scenes and become the speaker and executor of the 10 major sections. It's just that the current situation didn't develop in the direction that the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond had envisioned. Instead, it had deviated from its original track. The 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond felt helpless, and could only watch on helplessly. Because of this, Ning Cheng didn't dare to go to the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond. Even if he brought a few primordial essence holy emperors with him, it would still be dangerous for him to head to the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond. Let's go back to stately River Star first. Yan Ji took the initiative to speak up when she saw Ning Cheng hesitating. After sending Lu Fonglin to the Grand Essence Mountain for cultivation, she had always stayed by Ning Cheng's side. She naturally understood Ning Cheng's worries, and she also knew what kind of place the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond was. This sect was very selfish, so selfish that they even used their own disciples. Ning Cheng nodded. This was the only way. If he wanted to go to the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond, he had to wait for Chu Manha and the others to recover their cultivation. Ning Cheng took out a ring and handed it to Yan Ji. I snatched this from the Grand Change Glazed Stone Dao Court's Dao Lord Jesse. I haven't refined it yet. This should be a world. As for what kind of world it is, you can refine it. I'll leave it with you. Yan Ji knew that Ning Cheng had the mysterious yellow bead, so she didn't care about other worlds. Now that Ning Cheng handed the ring to her, she didn't refuse. She put away the ring, and was about to speak when she saw a ray of light fall on Ning Cheng's finger. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness fell on the light and spoke up with joy. Dao friend Chu came out. Let's hurry up and greet. Ning Cheng, you don't have to go. I'm already here. As the voice fell, 2 figures appeared not far from Ning Cheng and Yan Ji. It was Chu Manha and Wu Lin. Chu Manha looked like a young girl, but her Dao charm was restrained, just like a vast starry sky. Ning Cheng understood at a glance that Chu Manha had recovered her strength. She definitely was a Dao perfection powerhouse, and a Dao perfection powerhouse even stronger than Man Suatian. Wu Lin also had Dao charm flowing around him, and his domain was extremely powerful. He also seemed to have recovered his strength. Senior apprentice Sister Manha, I didn't expect you to recover your cultivation so quickly. Also Brother Wu, your recovery speed is also unparalleled. Ning Cheng quickly came forward to greet them. After greeting them, he let Yan Ji come forward to greet them. Chu Manha felt very happy when Ning Cheng addressed her as senior apprentice sister. It meant that Ning Cheng treated her as one of his own. She stepped forward and took Yan Ji's hand and said, Junior apprentice Brother Ning really has a good vision. Sister Yan Ji has a pure physique, and her future achievements will definitely surpass mine. Brother Ning, I saw that you seem to have some difficulties. So, Sister Chu and I came here first to see if we could help. After greeting each other, Wu Lin asked directly. Wu Lin was one of the few people in the Perpetual Moon sect who suffered the least losses. Therefore, he also recovered the fastest. Chu Manha also pretended to be expressionless. Junior apprentice brother Ning. Why didn't you come to us for help? Don't you regard us as friends? Ning Cheng had to speak up. I didn't expect you to recover your strength so quickly. Otherwise, I would have invited senior apprentice Sister Chu and brother Wu to accompany me. Chu Manha spoke with some embarrassment. My cultivation caused too much of a commotion. If I continued to cultivate in the dragon cleansing pool, it would probably cause dissatisfaction. So as soon as I recovered my cultivation, I decided to leave early. Tell me what's the matter? Ning Qing asked. Did senior apprentice Sister Manha fully recover her strength? After Ning Qing finished speaking, the vast starry sky like Dao charm aura around Chu Manha suddenly disappeared, and she turned into an ordinary Dao confirming cultivator. If several people stood here, the last person to notice her would be an ordinary person like Chu Manha. This showed Ning Cheng that her strength had not only recovered, but had also returned to its original state and reached a whole new level. Ning Cheng felt overjoyed and quickly cupped his fists and said, I want to go to the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond. However, the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond has a Dao Perfection Holy Emperor. I wonder if senior apprentice Sister Manha and brother Wu have the time to accompany me? Wu Lin smiled. I came here to help you fight. Naturally, I'm willing to go with you. Chu Manha rolled her eyes at Ning Cheng and thought to herself, is there even a need to say it? The 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond had a strict distribution of ranks. The outer sect disciples and some ordinary inner sect disciples were separated from the true inheriting disciples and core disciples. Although it was the second largest sect in the Grand Essence realm, it was the most difficult sect to enter in the entire Grand Essence realm. Unless the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond held a public ceremony, very few people could enter the depths of the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond. It was completely different from other sections. As for the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Peak, it was suspended in the void. Even true inheriting disciples found it difficult to enter. Ning Cheng, Yanji, Wu Lin and Chu Manha had just arrived at the entrance of the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond's defensive array when someone stopped them. Ning Cheng took out a jade card and put it in the guard's hand before saying, Please go inside and report that Ning Cheng from the Grand Essence Dao Court has come to see you. Ning Cheng didn't say who he wanted to see, but since a Dao Court's Dao Lord came to see him, then Dai Fu should at least come out to meet him. What? You said Ning Cheng dares to come to my 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond? Shi Tianhe stood up in disbelief. At this moment, at least a few dozen people sat in the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond's main hall. Apparently, the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond was also in the middle of a meeting. Everyone in the hall understood the meaning of Shi Tianhe's words. That is, the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond had just expressed their dissatisfaction with Ning Cheng as a Dao Lord. Yet in the blink of an eye, Ning Cheng came to visit the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond. Did Ning Cheng really think that he was a Dao Lord worshipped by everyone in the Grand Essence realm? Did Ning Cheng really think that the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond wouldn't dare to touch him? One had to know that if Ning Cheng came to the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond, his fate would no longer be in Ning Cheng's hands. Even if the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond didn't kill Ning Cheng, as long as they controlled him, all his previous arrangements would turn into bubbles. Dai Fu, who sat in the seat of honor, asked in a deep voice, How many people did they bring? The reporting disciple quickly replied, A total of 4 people. Apart from Ning Cheng, there are 2 women and 1 man. One of the women used to be a disciple of my 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond. Her name is Yanji. That Dai Fu sneered. He really thinks he's a Dao Lord. Yishuang, this person is very lecherous. Go greet him and find out his thoughts. Yes. Shi Yishuang quickly stood up. She understood the meaning of the sect master's words. That is, she wanted to use her capital to test Ning Cheng and see what Ning Cheng's purpose was. Chu Manha saw Shi Yishuang coming over to greet him and said with a slight smile, Junior apprentice brother Ning, you don't seem to have much prestige as a Dao lord. They just sent a Dao sculpting cultivator to greet you. Well, she does have a bit of a beauty. Most likely, they thought that they caught your hobby. Ning Qing didn't care about Chu Manha's joke. He had seen Shi Yishuang a few times, and she was also a woman with eyes on her forehead. No matter how beautiful this woman was, she was just a passing thing for him. He only came here for one purpose, and that was to ask if Shi Qianghua was in the 9 Revolutions sacred Dao pond. Big brother Ning, please come with me. Shi Yishuang walked up to Ning Qing with a smile, and even squeezed Yanji back a few steps. Ning Qing stopped and said with a slightly cold tone, Fairy Yishuang, please lead the way. You don't have to squeeze with me. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.